Good evening, West Orange. Coming to you live from Council Chambers, 66 Main Street, West Orange. Welcome to the West Orange Township Council Budget Stop Workshop. There will be no public comment heard in council chambers or online. At this time, I'd like to turn the meeting over to our council president, Joe Kukoviac.
Thank you, Mr. Fagan. Welcome, everybody those of you who are in the chambers and also online. We appreciate your interest and your help in the budget. Let's see, the draft budget from the mayor proposes to raise municipal property taxes by 6.2%. So we're looking for efficiencies to lower that increase. If you want to follow along, please go to the township website, westorange.org. Use the search box in the upper right hand of the page, type in the word budget, then click on the first result will be budget, and you'll see the mayor's draft budget that we'll be working on from tonight. We are not, as Mr. Fagan said, we're not taking public comment tonight. If you want to comment or ask questions, please send an email to council@westorange.org, which, despite what you may think, also goes to the mayor and several people in her administration. If you want to send just to the council, you can send it to one of the council people, and they can send it around to the rest of us. If you need email addresses, search for the council, the word council, on the township website to get the email addresses. Let's see. Tonight, we are reviewing the proposed budgets for multiple departments in the township government, and we're going to be starting with the engineering department. And when we are describing a particular page that we're looking at, it will be the page that is printed on the actual page, even though in PDF format, you also see a PDF page number on the right side. You want to look for the numbers that are on the printed budget. And lastly, I urge everyone to consider time efficiency in their comments and questioning, to be sure that what you say is necessary. The faster that we carefully go through the budget, the better. Any questions? Yes.
No questions.
Madam Clerk.
Yes. This is to inform the general public that this workshop is being held in compliance with Section 5 of the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975. The notice for this workshop was emailed to the West Orange Chronicle and the Star Ledger on April 25th, 2025. Councilwoman Castellino will be here shortly. Councilwoman Geber Michael.
Present.
Councilwoman Rudin. Here. Councilwoman Scarpa.
Present.
Council President Kukoviac.
Present.
Thank you.
All right. Director Carvalho. Welcome back. It seems like we were just seeing you.
I know, long time no see.
For those of you who don't know, we had a council meeting last night, and Ms. Carvalho was one of the last people here. And you're not paid overtime, are you? Okay. Anyway, how would you like to start the presentation? Oh, Mr. Dozniak, I can recognize that facial expression.
Council President, I just want to point out to the public watching at home through the Zoom broadcast, you had mentioned on our website, if you look up the departments section and then finance and then go to budget, we have for tonight, we put together a packet of the departments that we are going to be looking at tonight: the engineering department, health, Parks and Recreation, and the Department of Public Works. So we have a packet so that it's much easier to follow along from home for those budgets that we're going to be looking at tonight. So if you click the May 21, 2025 budget presentation, it will bring up a 29-page packet. I feel like it's going to be much easier for everyone at home to follow along, and we've printed out copies for everyone here. Again, I feel like it'll be a lot easier to go through this. We won't have to worry about the pages so much. It's just going to be easier to go through. I also want to point out that we have the debt service schedules that were presented at the previous budget workshop meeting available. These are all of our bond and amortization schedules for our permanently financed debt. It also has a schedule of our bond anticipation notes and the authorized but not issued. These were the things that I talked about last week. So for the public, if they want to look at these schedules, we have them up on the website. What we're going to do, hopefully before the next meeting, is put up the 2014 budget presentation schedules as well, so that, if you just wanted to look at what happened last week and the schedules we looked at, we'll put them up on the website as well. So we're always going to keep the major document, and we'll be updating that as these proceedings go on, but at least you have the more bite-sized presentations. So we hope it's helpful to the public and, anybody else that wants to look.
And the members of the Citizens Budget Advisory Board.
Correct, yes.
Okay. Director Carvalho, how would you like to start the process? Would you like to present? Should we go through the budget line by line? Do you want to give an overview of perhaps what happened in 2024 and what you're looking for in 2025? How would you like to proceed?
Well, let me give you an overview of the 2024 budget.
Thank you.
The engineering department currently has approximately 2 keyboarding clerks, which are full-time. 1 administrative analyst, which has been with us for over 11 years now. He's part-time. He comes 2 days a week. We also have an engineering aide that is also part-time. We recently just hired another engineering aide full-time. And of course, there is myself as the director of the department and the municipal engineer. So that pretty much wraps up what the engineering department consists of. There is also shared services with the Department of Public Works in terms of the construction inspector, which primarily works for the Department of Engineering, as well as the forester, who also works for the department, not regularly, but only for the assessments for all the different capital improvement projects for the roads, when he has to do assessments for the trees. So that pretty much is the, I would say, the staff for the department is very small. Right now, we primarily depend on consultants to do the design and bid documents for the department. I am hoping to sort of distance the department from 100% dependency on consulting services. I would like to see the department in the future, in the near future, to be able to do at least some of the road projects, as well as the specifications. So in that way, we wouldn't have to be depending on consultants to do that work, which is primarily the reason why there's some increased requests in the operating budget for this year.
And there's the open position. Do you have a status for I think it's deputy engineer?
The assistant municipal, yes. So the open position for the assistant municipal engineer, we actually had an interview, a few interviews last week. We do have a candidate, and we're right now in the process of hopefully him being hired. I will have an actual, hopefully, a starting date once the process is completed.
Can you give us a quote of how much CME and Matrix have cost us as consultants?
Sure. As of right now for this year, I would say CME, we have spent with them close to, I would say $120,000, if I'm not mistaken. And for Matrix New World, I would say probably close to $400,000.
And Mr. DeTinia, can you confirm those figures for us?
I mean, I couldn't confirm them off the top of my head. I believe the director, when she, states those figures, the majority of those are against capital projects. It's part of our Section 20 costs. with Matrix New World, a lot of it is related to the remediation efforts at 55 Lakeside and some other properties of the current DPW facility. So they're not technically operating. I will add just as a general point to this department's budget discussions that, the township is extremely lucky to have, PEs on staff because it's increasingly difficult to hire PEs as municipal employees because they command very large salaries in the corporate world. So, having a PE on staff and hopefully bringing on another PE
He's
Um,
actually, yeah,
we're-
an EIT in his steps to get his PE.
on this particular person on their way, he or she,
Mhm.
is advantageous for us. We are still going to require the use of outside firms. That will not go away, just because of the different, oops. Ms. Cabral can speak more to this, the different disciplines and, the fact you're going to need LSRP and that's, one sort of specialty and structural engineer and this type of engineer. So we're still going to rely on outside firms. But as Ms. Cabral stated, things like road projects, if we can bring that in-house, we're going to see savings on those capital projects. We're not going to have to, appropriate as much Section 20 costs. It's going to be more for just the bonding side of things and less for the engineering. And it'll be just really for the build out, paying the contractors.
So I've also been trying to figure out how, if we bring somebody in-house, because last year we spent like almost $750,000 on outsourcing engineering. How much do you think that we could save if we brought somebody in-house?
So let me put it to you this way, okay? For every single roadway project, you're looking at a spending between 35 to, let's say, $50,000. Just for the engineering company, just to do the survey, the engineering plans or design, as well as the bid phase, which is basically the preparation of the construction documents and the construction plans for bidding. That doesn't include the construction administration. Luckily, we have people in-house who are knowledgeable to do that, which is what we share with DPW, one of the inspectors. And I am hoping to break in our newly hired engineering aide in that aspect. As everybody knows, people eventually will retire. So that is the plan. And for the construction administration, you're looking at least, I would say, at a minimum $50,000 to $60,000 per project. And that will be like for, I would say, not even like full-time inspection. We're talking about like 3/4 or a half of, part-time, something like that.
Right. So do you anticipate saving, if we spent in 1 year, almost $750,000, can you anticipate what the savings we would have when we have an in-house assistant municipal engineer?
Right now, I really cannot give you that number because we haven't really been quantifying, how much would it cost. I mean, I could tell you on the projects that we have done, if I actually sit down and start looking through them, how much money we have been saving with the construction administration. And hopefully in the future, like I said, we'll be saving at least, between $35,000 to $50,000 per road improvement project in design, if we do it in-house. Obviously, it will take a little bit longer. Obviously, we're gonna have to train personnel. And that is something that, is gonna have to be done in-house as well as, be well equipped with, software, et cetera, in order to be able to do that.
What are the major type of projects that you will still have to outsource?
First of all, for every single project, I will definitely gonna have to outsource what is called surveying. All right, so surveying and civil engineering go hand in hand. You cannot do anything in civil engineering without the surveying part. So I must gonna have to go get a land surveyor regardless to do the field work, to give us what is called the base map. The base map is then passed on to the civil engineer, and the civil engineer from there will be able to take it and do the plan. I figure we could be able to do the road improvement projects, the design of it. I envision also that maybe in the future, if maybe a recreational project comes along, maybe I could go back and start designing maybe some of those sport fields. If they're synthetic, turf,
Mhm.
if they need replacement, maybe we could do some of our, site plans. Like, for example, maybe something for a firehouse or a police station if it's needed, or maybe for one of the parking lots. We'd be able to design those because that's basically my,
And
That's
all
my
of the
area.
remediation work would still need to be outsourced?
yes, because you need a licensed site remediation professional, an LSRP. I am not.
Mhm.
So I won't be able to sign and seal any of those documents. You still need to have a licensed professional from the state to do that. A lot of the LSRPs are also PEs if they do that kind of work. Unfortunately, that is not my area of expertise. I'm smart enough to know what my limitations are as a professional.
Is there ever a engineer who can also be a surveyor as well? Do people have that dual role?
I do have a dual license. I
Oh,
used
you
to
do?
do
Okay.
survey.
Uh-huh.
I also am a professional planner in the state of New Jersey. But like I say to you, you need personnel. If you want us to do the survey work in-house, and if that's what you're envisioning, then I'll recommend the council then that we will need to have an opening position then, or we need to advertise, let's say for a land surveyor. The reason being is because it's very difficult for someone like me to be able to do both. I would not be able to be your municipal engineer and land surveyor at the same time. I could sign off on the stuff if I check it, you know what I mean, all the work after I review it, but I still will need a person in the field that I could trust. You understand what I'm driving at? There will be my eyes in the
Mhm.
field,
Sure.
because I cannot be in the field every time that we gotta do field work. I gotta be in the office taking care of other issues that need to be resolved just by the engineer. And every time something breaks, every time there are questions during construction, I
Mhm.
have to stop what I'm doing and I have to go out there.
Mhm.
So if that is something that the council
No, it would
wants
only
to
be
see
based
in the
on your
future,
needs.
like in surveying,
Mhm.
yes, it's possible to do it. I do know for a fact that many years ago, that's the way the department was set up, but I think little by little that got phased out.
Mhm.
But yeah, it is something that is possible. We definitely will need to hire somebody with some sort of like surveying experience, if not license, to assist me, and then, I'll be able to sign off on both.
Would that save us money if we also hired a surveyor?
I don't see why not. I mean, a survey, regardless, like it depends. A boundary survey, as you see on boundary surveys, it could be a little more difficult, although we have a lot of our own stuff on record. We might be able to follow it, but I really won't be able to give you that number from the top of my head. Can we save money? Maybe, maybe not. I mean, serving is a very time-consuming process. A lot of people just see it as like math. You go set up an instrument and you just start taking measurements. It's not that simple. Surveying requires somebody to really know the area where you're working at. You need to understand the history of the area. There are surveyors who were very peculiar and particular in the way they did the work. Some of them would put, let's say, crosses on curb. You see that especially like in some sections of Orange. But only a surveyor that does the work in the area knows what those crosses mean. You understand where I'm driving at?
Mhm.
Not all of them also set up like, corners and stuff like that. So you need to know the history, you need to do research. You're gonna have to spend some time maybe on the courthouse, pulling plans and stuff like that, and also doing the field work. And then also the work in the office where you take the field data that you collected, as well as the data from those plans, and putting it together and see how the puzzle fits. Theoretically speaking, there shouldn't be any, overlaps or gaps when we're talking about boundaries, but unfortunately, you do see those, sometimes more common than none.
Thank you.
Mr. Datiniak, you mentioned Section 20 costs. I just think of them as everything in a bond issuance that is not going towards debt repayment and debt service. But
Correct.
perhaps you could just explain to everybody who may not.
Right. So it's the soft cost for a project. So I had mentioned, it's costs that go to pay for our financial advisors, but there's also costs that go to pay engineers or an architect or for surveying. It's anything but the actual, project build expenses. And we're allotted a certain percentage based on the bond ordinance. But, most of those soft costs are going to go for design and construction administration and all that. So we'd be able to, hopefully, for certain projects, cut down on that. I think it's also worth mentioning too that, when we deal with the engineering firms, they're obviously operating in, a market where inflation has gone up and costs are constantly increasing, and they pass them along to us. So, we have to sort of look at what our costs have gone up over the past few years with the engineering firms and what we sort of project out those costs to go up. And we know what our salary and wage costs are going to be moving forward based on the contracts and the salary ordinances that we have in place. And then again, we can project out our fringe benefits and, we're going to look for that delta. So if we're projecting out that the engineering third-party firms are going to be billing us more and more every year, again, there's that opportunity for savings because of our own costs are growing at a slower rate.
When we're looking at salaries for this department,
Mhm.
you have the base rate of over 400,000, and then you have the hourly. Why is there an hourly rate? Aren't these all full-time?
No, because we have
No?
some part-time in here. So like Mr. McCarthy it's a part-time position. Mr. Santos is part-time position.
If their salaries were bigger, could we cut down on that hourly? If they were, can either of them be full-time?
Right now, no. Mr. McCarthy is actually already been retired from the Department of Public Works. Actually, he used to be the superintendent for Public Works. But he's very knowledgeable. I even tell him all the time, you should have been an engineer, okay? He's extremely good when it comes to our FEMA applications for reimbursements. He's excellent when it comes to putting everything together, all of the paperwork.
Mhm.
He also assists me reviewing bids, I have him call the different references for the contractors and find out, how they are before I award a project. He also assists me doing the ordinances. But yeah, he cannot work full-time.
Okay.
Okay.
And Mr. Santos?
Mr. Santos is currently going to school. He's going to NJIT to be a civil engineer. So there is that, limitation, but so far he's working out great. He's learning and he's eager to continue learning. Whether or not he's going to stay with us, that will be a different question, but I'm looking forward that sometime next year, prior to his graduation, that we'll be able to make him an offer for a full-time.
So the total S&W is, you have to add in on top of that, their health benefits.
Right. So we break out the health benefits as a separate line item, pursuant to the state statute of how we need to show health insurance. But yeah, on top of all of our salaries, there's fringe benefits, including our part-timers. So our part-timers are not getting health benefits. They're not getting pension, but there's a workers' compensation fringe benefit to being a part-timer. There's days off that are allotted to our part-timers that you would add on. So the total compensation package is much greater for our employees. It can go anywhere to, almost like 50% of a salary when you tack on the value of a family medical plan. You tack on the contribution to the pension, especially when you're looking at our police and fire, where, it can be close to, 39% of the pensionable base salary. Our PERS employees are much lower. I don't know, 17.5% sort of comes to mind on PERS. But yes, there are fringe benefits for all of our employees. We are very lucky that we can get a retiree to come back and work because they have all that institutional knowledge and they can't be in the pension. So they are limited in the amount of hours they can work. If they work more than 25 hours, it can trigger an investigation by the state of New Jersey Division of Pensions, and, their retirement could get revoked and all that. So, so we're very lucky when we can get a part-timer from, a retiree, because they're not going to get the health benefits, they're not going to get pension. We're going to pay, 7.65% FICA for them, and that's really the only fringe.
So their salaries are all hourly. Is that what you're saying?
No, so the McCarthy and Santos, yes, they are hourly employees, yes.
Okay,
The other employees listed on here are salaried, technically salaried employees and eligible for health benefits and must be enrolled in the pension. I want to make that very clear. They must be enrolled in the pension. We don't have a choice. If they meet the hourly and salary requirements, they have to be enrolled. So an employee can't say, you know what, forget about it. I'd rather just put my money elsewhere. We're not allowed to do that. We have to enroll them. So.
So this might also be an opportunity to explain to everybody the concept of slippage with regards to the assistant engineer that we're talking about now, because you can
Right.
see.
That's an excellent point, Council President. So, when we put the budget together, the open position contemplated for the assistant municipal engineer is for a full year, as if they started on 1/1/2025. So obviously, we are closely approaching the end of May. So this amount here is going to be prorated for whenever we determine what the start date for our particular candidate is, and also the agreed upon salary. So this number can and will change.
is this new assistant engineer? He's getting 80% of your salary. Is that person as qualified, or is it a junior person? Where does this person, it's a high salary if it's a junior person.
So the person that hopefully will start within a month or so, is someone that has been in the business, I would say probably by now, at least 6-7 years. I would say it's a well-rounded individual in terms of design and project management. So I'm looking forward to bringing this person to the team and being able also to train the engineering aides on staff. Since obviously I really don't have much of that time or leeway because I have once too many meetings.
Right.
And you need to sit down with them and really show them step by step how to do something.
For somebody who's, for somebody who still needs a considerable amount of training and sounds like far more junior than you, is this a large salary?
If you're hiring a PE, okay, as an assistant municipal engineer that already has experience, I would say probably the starting salary will be around maybe between 125 and 135, depending on what they do.
Okay,
The person that we're looking to hire will be starting at a lower salary than what you see there, but that doesn't mean that in a year, that person will be getting that salary once they get their PE license.
right.
I mean, if you want, I would say, a staff or employees to stick around, as they say, we also have to take into consideration their, professional, accreditations and everything else.
Mhm.
So I'm sure once that person gets their PE, everybody expects to make a little more.
Right. Is there any leeway with this person's salary for the first year? Or has this salary been offered already?
That is not the salary that I was offered. It was lower.
Okay. So just, we should get the real numbers of what's what's being
The offer
offered.
was made. We did a conditional offer to the employee, the potential employee the other day.
Mhm.
The amount that was offered was $114,732 or something like that.
Okay.
That was based on the experience of this particular individual, based on what the director felt was a person who's ready to grow within the position. It gives us the opportunity to see this person flourish in the position, plus with the salary step guide, it gives them ample opportunity to earn additional income as they grow within the position and they make it through the probation.
Okay, so shouldn't we reflect that on here?
Well, we just, like I said, we just interviewed him last week.
Right, no, but
Well, we-
that's a considerable saving
Yeah.
for our township.
In terms of
So-
salary, yes.
Okay, so can we correct that so that we know
I
where
can
we
get you
are?
I'll get you the number in a moment, what the number is.
So yes, I'll note it and we were going to prorate it anyway. And then whenever there's going to be a vote later on, you know, you can vote on the new number. So I'll note it, and when we go through the voting process, we'll see.
If I could, I just wanted to follow up on my question several minutes ago about the significance of slippage, because we, as you pointed out, we budget for the whole year.
Mhm.
When we have a situation where somebody either comes in during the year or leaves during the year, we
Oh.
have the concept of slippage. How does that impact our budget in terms of where that money that was proposed, or is, you know, if it's actually budgeted, how does
Okay.
that
So-
impact us? Because if it's a savings that we can make, we should take that into account. So
Right. So let's say, you know, for an employee, we budgeted $100,000 and, you know, 6 months into the year, they retire and they leave. So we've only paid them 50,000. That money would remain in the line item through the end of the year. And then it remains for another year as an appropriation reserve. And then that unspent money would go back into operations and increase our fund balance. So that's sort of like the timeline for that leftover money. When we can, if we can predict, hey, someone's going to retire on this date, you know, we can budget, you know, a lot, closer and say, okay, well, instead of budgeting for their full salary of 100,000, we can prorate. And we have some proration built into this budget because of people that have already left. So, you know, we accounted for January and February, but, you know, we only, you know, paid them for what, or we've only budgeted for what they were actually paid. So, my personal style is I like to have a little bit of cushion in there, but obviously it is up to the council. If you want to keep cushion in there, which allows you to maybe hire someone else, or the ability to move money between budget accounts via resolution later on in the year, allowing for that slippage gives you that flexibility. Budgeting a lot closer, you know, will probably mean less of an increase to the taxpayer. So a more conservative approach that you know, has a current year impact on the taxpayer. So
that's what I wanted to ask you about the current impact, because it sounds like in some cases there is no positive impact on the current budget because it gets rolled over in future years. Is there a particular circumstance where we could incorporate whatever savings from the slippage in the current budget year? And I
Yeah.
thought that you were saying that because we haven't quite hired this person yet, if we indeed hire him, then that would allow us to reduce it for this
Yeah,
year. But
absolutely, absolutely. I agree 100% with you. We would take that 135, which, you know, we're essentially asking the taxpayers for in total, and we would cut that down. And the offset of reducing this appropriation, if we don't change anything about revenue, reduces the amount to be raised by taxation. It's a direct effect because the budgets have to balance. So yeah, if we reduce that to, let's say, 75,000 or $70,000, that would directly impact the amount to be raised and reduce it.
okay, thank you. Councilman Rudin, you had the floor.
I was just wondering, what is the hourly rate for each of the part-time? Or is this based on 25 hours a week?
No. Mr. McCarthy works 2 days a week. And Mr. Brandon works 4 days a week. So Mr. Brandon could be between 24 to 28 hours a week, depending on, how his classes are. Sometimes he needs more time off. And then Mr. McCarthy, like I said, is 2 days a week, 7 hours a day, so 14 hours a week.
And just to follow up, it was 114,301. That was close.
114,301.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's for the assistant.
So obviously that's going to be prorated for this year. So shouldn't we get an actual number that shows that it's prorated for this year? Or do you need to budget the entire salary?
No, we'll prorate it. I mean, I'm not gonna do it right now, but, I'll note it, and when you're ready to vote in whatever time, we'll have a figure in there.
Council President, may I just quickly point out, Councilwoman Gerber Michael has lost the signal at the site that she's at. And she said that she will listen to this and will be joining us later. And I'm sorry for the interruption.
Thank you, Mr. Fagan. Councilwoman, you got more questions or?
I'm just a little confused in terms of how we as a council can determine what numbers, since half of the budget, half of the year is almost gone, and we don't know what we've spent, to know what's left over so that we're passing appropriate amounts for the rest of the year. It's hard to tell because this is a number for the entire year. Yes. Oh,
Please continue.
okay. So how do we know, like when we're voting on this, how do we know what has already been spent and what we are authorizing for the rest of the year?
So, I mean, we're giving you the full salaries of all of our personnel. In terms of the open position, like I said, we can prorate. So there's nothing spent for an open position. There's nobody in there. So I even prorated actually, because I forgot I was on the screen. I thought it was just my own notes, but so we will prorate that. Just to give you an idea about the true budget process is you're going to have these hearings, right? And you're going to vote and do whatever you do. We're going to have an actual legal budget document too, that you're going to have to truly approve via resolution. So there's going to be, even more steps to this. But if you want, and I would not do it in the public meeting, we can provide payroll records. Again, I will not do it in the public meeting, but if you want payroll records to support all of the departments that we're looking at, whether you want a year-to-date figure based on, as of this most recent payroll, we can do that. We can give
concerned
that
about
to
the
you.
Payroll, because that's a flat rate. I'm more concerned about when we go down to the itemization of knowing you're asking for X amount in advertising.
Okay, so
How
in
much
the
have we
OE,
already
yeah.
spent? How much do we still need to authorize?
So,
Asking about run rates, and I don't know how frequently you do a run rate, but
so, we can provide those reports from Unidex, yeah. So,
Because that's all we have control over. We only have control over what has not yet been spent.
and it isn't covered by employment contracts and labor contracts.
and debt, and pension, and health benefits, all the real stuff.
Yes.
Mhm.
Are you finished?
I'm
Councilwoman?
finished.
Okay, great. Councilwoman Castellino, before you go on, I just want to acknowledge Councilwoman Scarpa that we know that you're waiting. Councilwoman Castellino had her hand up, so I'm going to let her go first and then we'll get to you,
Okay, no
okay?
problem.
Thanks.
Thank you, Council President. So I guess with the date, we don't know yet. Like we talk about prorating.
Mhm.
When do you think we'll get this budget done, so you can prorate, because, we could say that he could prorate to July, but if we don't get this done to August 1st.
Well, I mean, for this particular individual, it's when they accept the
Yeah,
job, if they accept,
when they're gonna start.
yeah. So then we would make sure that we have their salary covered, so.
Okay, but the other items, I mean, but can you implement this person? Before we pass the budget? Or this was wasn't this line item in last year's budget?
Yes, it was.
Okay, so we can do that for this position then. So this person can start right away because this was from last year.
Yes, this item was actually in last year's budget.
Okay,
Unfortunately, we were not able to hire anybody. Actually, we had a tentative candidate that accepted the offer, I would say maybe about, I don't know, a month and a half ago, and then 2 weeks before starting, sent me an email saying that he took a better offer somewhere else. So we've been trying to fulfill this position for, I would say, 2 years now.
yeah, no, and this position hasn't been filled in many, many years, I think, prior to even Mr. Lepore being there.
Well, I was hired in 2022, and as far as I know, he didn't have an assistant for over a decade.
Yeah, you were the first one in a long, long time. Okay, so I just wanted to ask that question. And in regards to, we're just gonna stay on this page for now, I guess, until you go to the next page.
Yes, we're hoping to drain this and move on.
Okay, all right, I'm drained. I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to ask the audience, can you hear the director clearly? Okay, great. Councilwoman Scarpa?
Yeah, I just want to ask if there's a way we can revise and prorate this more dynamically so that we have real numbers that we're working with from week to week. Because obviously, if we need to cut close to a couple $1 million out of this budget, we need to be working with real numbers, and we need to be able to really see where the cost savings can come from. And, we need to be able to calculate all of this stuff. And our Citizens Budget Advisory Committee also needs these numbers. So is there a way that we can get this information a little bit quicker? So that we have a more realistic picture of what we're doing, kind of what Councilwoman Rudin was asking for.
Okay, so I have on the screen, I prorated here, but I think until we really know when the person's going to start, I would just be sort of guessing. I mean, I
Yes,
could come
okay.
close to estimating, but if you're
Right.
looking to be like on the razor edge of budgeting, which I will come out publicly and say I don't recommend, and I think has been a problem with West Orange for years, looking at the fund balance. It's just been budgeted too tight. I would need to know exactly when this person's going to start, and then I can adjust. So, I cut it in half essentially. So instead of being 488, we're at 420.
Yeah, or at least put it on the side as a, as a,
Yeah, I have a
parentheses or
note
something.
for myself.
Right.
So
Yeah,
that,
so that
like,
we
when I-
can see
when
that.
I- When I bring this back, when we actually go through everything and then the Budget Advisory Board, Citizens Budget Advisory Board reviews and makes their recommendations, and, we're probably going to pass information along to each other. I want to have everything that we talked about last week and anything we talk about this week available to the council, so that I can say, we brought this up last week. This is the change that you wanted, or
Right.
this is the change that I made, like in case of proration. And then you can vote on it. And then we'll also
Yeah.
have, after we go through everything, based on all the changes that were put in, this is the new amount to be raised number. And
Exactly. I just would like to be working with more realistic numbers. And for Ms. Caballo, how have we gone about advertising or looking for this person, this assistant engineer? What have we done?
We actually had the an advertisement in the New Jersey League of Municipalities. It's being advertised, I don't know how many times already, but every time that, the time elapses, we put one back out and wait and see if anybody applies.
Is that the only place we've advertised?
I believe that's where we have been advertising, and also I believe on our own website. I know.
Mhm.
I also
Perhaps we can
tried
take a little different
emailing,
approach. Yeah.
I also emailed some of the colleges like New Jersey Institute of Technology, Stevens, and
Mhm.
get much response.
So I
You
will,
haven't gotten a response from the colleges?
Not anybody really applying, and I am looking for someone who actually has not only the education that is necessary to be a assistant municipal engineer, but also someone who has some credentials after their name.
Mhm. Have we ever looked at student interns, like seniors, to see, to kind of get a sense of the person?
Well, right now I have Mr. Santos, who is actually going to NJIT. He was actually
Mhm.
my student, I would say, 2 years ago or 3 in Middlesex County.
Mhm.
And he's currently now a junior. Next year will be a senior. Should be graduating in a
Mhm.
year.
Okay.
We
All
gotta say
right.
that Mr. Santos is doing a great job for us, and we actually are hoping to keep him because he's getting familiar with our infrastructure. He's doing a lot of the designs. He's learning from not only his school, but from one of his former teachers and from the staff. So we're
Mhm.
trying to groom him to go into this position as a full-time, which is what we really need.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
so the one thing on recruitment, and this is for the future, but the payroll system, Prime Point, as part of their HR module, included with that HR module, we can put, yeah, a job description up, advertisement, and they will send it through to like, all the different job platforms, Career, Indeed, and,
Mhm.
all those.
Good.
So we hopefully will cast a much wider net
Mhm.
when we seek out candidates, because traditionally, yeah, the municipalities use the League of Municipalities website, and everybody knows to go to the classifieds there and in their own website, and that's like what all the municipalities do, but this will at least cast a wider net.
I think that's prudent. We need to cast a wider net and do a more strategic job in recruitment.
Okay, so we started 10 minutes late. We're now at 7 o'clock. That means we spent 50 minutes on the first page of what we hope to review this evening. So I just want to again reiterate to my colleagues to try to pick your questions with the idea of efficiency in mind, because we have a lot more to go. So if we can, Director, have we pretty much drained this first page? Can we move on to the operating side of the?
I don't see why not. I
Okay.
go at your pace.
Okay, so again, did you want to describe, I know you had said originally that you wanted to talk about last year, and then perhaps in the context of this year, on the next page, which is page 71.
Let's see. So last year, for advertising, printing and photo, that's basically for us to be able to advertise for bids. We have to advertise in the newspaper. We also need some printing and photos sometimes for exhibits is needed, but we don't spend that much money on that now that we have a color printer. So typically the budget, was approximately 3750. And we expended or paid approximately $2,000. I would like to keep it the same. But if worse comes to worse, I would not recommend going any lower than $2,000.
Okay.
Okay.
Like next line.
Yeah, so actually I misspoke. I'm looking at the digital version of the budget. So I'm looking at it page by page, but that does not appear to be what's here, Mr. Detiniak?
Under Division of Engineering?
Yes. Like at the bottom of the last column under the adopted budget, you've got a number 62.43%, and underneath that $21,000 and change. And that's not what's on the budget on page 72 for engineering. So I know I've had some problem, page
I mean,
71.
I'm looking at it right here. It's 62.43.
Well, this version's dated May 21st, this run date, and this other run date was April 29th. Were there updates? Maybe should we just go off what was given to us?
This was the version that you sent, Mr. Tiniak, with the slight correction in it.
72 is the fire department. What page is council president?
So I'm just,
This is what's up on the screen.
yes, it is up on the screen. I'm just telling you the digital version that I have is different. So you've got and I'm just trying to figure out why, because I'm all digital. I put all my notes in the document. So, as you can see. So then the next page in the document is page 71.
Oh, right, yeah, so we had changes for the license collection. That's why I printed these out, yeah.
Okay.
I see what you're doing, okay.
Okay, so I should stop looking at that now. Even on the second page, what's the page number that we're looking at here? It doesn't appear to have a page number.
For the packet I printed out? No.
Yes,
No, it's just like, we would go through them,
okay,
that we set up the presentation, just go page by
Okay.
page.
so I apologize.
So
I'm digital. All of my questions,
hard
all of my
copy.
notes are in the digital version. And it's apparently an old version. So now that we've clarified that, I'll just go by this and,
If you want to pull the PDF from the website, it's the same as the packet we're looking at.
okay.
will our advisory board also get the paper copy if it's been updated?
We have
You have
we
it,
have a
okay.
bunch of paper copies out
Okay.
there. I think we can send it out.
So I have two versions of this now. Did you just give me yours?
Oh. Did I think I gave you an extra.
I apologize for causing so much trouble.
Okay.
So operationally, Director, you have described what you feel comfortable with describing things that happened last year, things that you want to happen this year, just to highlight the major things major initiatives, if any, that you're
We'll talk about
trying to talk about, and then
the
we
two
can
big
go
changes.
line by line.
All right,
If-
so the two biggest changes I would say are from last year to this year will be for the license collection system operator, which we need. It's typically almost $17,500 a year. But for some reason, this has always been $6,000 on the operating budget, which means I have been paying the rest of it from my capital budget, which makes no sense. So I will recommend that gets increased to what it needs to be. It's an annual charge. Also, the other bigger increase would be account number 131 for the computer software and CAD. We definitely need to have the computer software necessary to be able to do the work, meaning the Civil 3D for AutoCAD in order to do the drafting, and also the GIS that is needed for us to be able to review some of the work that some of our consultants do. And I will say those are probably the two largest changes or significant changes from last year to this year.
And this is an additional AutoCAD license.
Yes.
So, we're increasing the engineering staff. We need an extra license so that they could use them.
Good question.
Yeah, I would like to just ask, as long as we're on this line item 070, what exactly is a license collection system operator? Is that a person or is it software?
It is a person that actually reports to NJDEP in all the different events for our wastewater collection system.
Yes, you were charging a person was getting charged to capital.
Okay,
We do actually DPW staff actually inspects. They have to write down every single incident that there is with our sewers, any backups, anything that happens that is an issue, and we have to report it to DEP. And the license operator then reviews the information and the data collected and provides some, not only reports to DEP, but also provides some guidelines on what it needs, what might improve it.
Okay.
Sometimes there's not much we can do.
Councilwoman, I'm going to get you to a second. I just want one more question. So the budget that we have indicates that there were no payments made on this line item last year. So could you explain how that happened?
So it was taken out of capital.
Taken out of capital.
And, you know, it's an operating expense. There's no way around it. It's an operating expense. That's why we're fully funding that in the 2025 budget. It's not a proper capital charge.
No, it's not.
No, it's not. Okay. Councilwoman Castellino.
So with the systems upgrades, the now have an assistant, are you able to save a little money from the utilizing the consultants on certain projects with having the additional staff?
So what I'm looking to do is to have the staff work on the, some of the road projects and maybe some of the other, smaller site plans, but I still gonna need to use consultants for all the surveying work to do the base mapping. And also anything that is not my expertise. Like, for example, a structural, right? You know, a structural engineer, let's say if you need to design a foundation or something like that, or a wall. You will also need an LSRP or site remediation expert for all the various sites that we have all over the township that are contaminated. Anything that deals with, let's say, mechanical, right? Like anything for our like interior buildings, MEPs, So we're still gonna need consultants, but I am hoping that maybe we could like decrease the use or have some savings with our, the smaller projects and road programs.
Very good.
Yes, we had an extensive discussion before you got here.
Okay. Sorry,
No,
I thought you were doing health.
I just wanted to.
I thought you were doing health.
If you watch the video, you could see the discussion. Councilwoman
Thank
Rudin
you.
was leading that. Councilwoman Rudin, do you have any questions from this page?
No.
Councilwoman Scarpa, do you have any questions from this page?
No, I do not.
Oh, actually, I do. I'm sorry. The-
Perfect timing. Councilwoman Rudin.
The computer software CAD, last year you had 10,000, this year you're asking for double that amount.
Yes, because last year we only had 2 employees. And then we were actually sharing the license at the time. That was Mr. Brandos and myself. So right now we have another engineering aide who's actually full-time, and then the incoming assistant municipal engineer. So we need 4 licenses.
This is
instead of-
based on usage that you pay for it. With 4 users, it's going to go up.
Yes, because the license actually individual licenses. I need to be able to review their work, and even if I need to do some of it myself, I will do it. So let me give you maybe a perspective on why this is worth it, all right? Every time that we do grants, if I am to go to a consultant to do an exhibit for me for a grant, they typically want at least between $6,500 to $7,500 just for one exhibit. I've been doing all of the exhibits for all our grants in-house since I started working here.
Mhm.
The program literally will pay for itself, especially with the number of grants that we apply for.
Mhm.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Since we don't have any questions on this, does anybody on the council want to take up the Director Carvalho's offer to cut the budget cut the proposed budget for 2025 by $2,000?
By 2000, no, she was saying cut it for 1748, decrease it so that the amount is 2,000, not cut it by 2,000.
I would just leave.
I'm
That's
sorry,
what
could you
she-
just clarify that?
Yes,
So for the-
she was talking about advertising and printing.
I could
That
go as low as
she can-
$2,000 instead of the
Right, so we're
3748,
saving
1748,
1748.
21.
Yeah, I would say yes, I already put that in as a savings. Thank you.
Okay, we can't actually do that unless we have a vote. So, and I think we'd agreed, or the majority agreed, that we were not going to make any actual changes until sometime in the future. Is that the case? I don't know whether, I guess
Correct.
we
I'm
need
just
to.
making a note that,
Make a note.
making a note that that's a possible area. And based, we'll wait until we get our advice from the advisory board, if they concur with that. So, next.
If there are no more questions, Director, I think you can go home a little bit earlier than you usually go home.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thanks for staying so late last night.
You're welcome. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good of you to put her up first tonight. That was good.
We
Yeah,
did that purposely.
yeah.
Mr. Fonzino.
I think she's the last one. Okay.
Welcome, Mr. Fonzino. We are now ready to discuss the Health Department. And this is the next page on the packet that everybody had, listing the employees and the information about them. Again, Mr. Fonzino, if you want to talk about what happened with personnel in 24, whether there are any changes, anything that you're expecting in 25, that might be a good place to start.
Okay, good evening, Council President. Good evening, council members, members of the public. I'm going to start out just with a statement real quickly, and then we can go through each. We got a couple different divisions here that the budget is broken up into, and then I can answer any questions you might have and I review what we're looking to increase.
Much better idea. Thank you.
Okay.
Please.
So I just want to start out by saying the Health Department has secured nearly $2 million in grant funding since 2021, which has helped us offset salaries, fringe benefits, and operating expenses, which has obviously resulted in an enormous savings to the township over the last 4 years. Regrettably, the federal government cut 2 of our larger size grants this past March due to the change in the presidential administration. So we are looking to for some increases to cover those costs in our municipal budget that were cut from some of those grants. So this evening, I'm going to go over specifically those items that we need to rely on the municipal budget for. So I will start with if you have any questions on this, nothing's really changing with the salaries in general health. Everything is filled. Every position is filled in that.
And everything's contractual, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Councilwoman, I was just going to mention, if you allow me to speak briefly
Please.
on that. So in the health department that we're looking at right here, we have a new member, the deputy municipal department head, who was hired early this year, January 27th. But all of the other increases for the employees, and again, we're not going to show it here, but you'll get the 24 to 25 breakdown, and that'll go to the budget advisory so you can see the increases. But it is all COLA increases. And I say COLA, it's contractual. As I mentioned in the previous meeting, the AFSCME union, who is represented here, they received 1.5% on 1/1/2024, 1.5% on 7/1/2024, and then 3% for 2025. So those COLA increases are reflected here. Most of the employees in the general health department are at a max step, but we do have other employees that are in the step. So they received a step increase as well. For 1/1/2025 pursuant to those contracts. So there are no promotions that are included in here. These are contractual increases.
Thank you, Mr. Tenek. Please go on. Mr. Fonzino.
Okay, so if there's no questions on this salary page, go to the next one. This is our transportation division. As you'll see, there's this includes our full-time drivers. We have 4 full-time driver, 5 full-time drivers, and then the rest are part-time, which operate our jitney service. And then we have one open position for a part-time omnibus operator, because we're looking to add another route for our jitney, because the services, put a demand on us to do that.
And again, will be prorated again because it's the end of May. So we have a sort of the full part-time, full boat, part-time salary in there of 36,000, but an opportunity there to reduce based on, when we think we're able to hire. So that bottom 36,000 open position can be prorated.
Okay. Asterisk. Excuse me, Mr. Teniak, you'll prorate it, like, so when you give us, say we in July 1st, we all agreed, we're done with the
Mhm.
budget process and we're ready to vote on it, so everything be prorated to that date.
And I will give you the
Automatically update everything.
Yeah, and I will give you the detail of, I won't just say like, all right, I prorated it to 12,000. I'll say, I prorated it for X number of days or months, or I'll give you the reasoning behind it along with that number. Mhm.
Yeah, that's. Okay.
Any other questions on this page?
Actually, I want you to go back to the employees. Are all of these
Contractual.
are all of these contractual?
On this page here,
Yes.
They're
Are they all, are
estimated.
they all part of a union?
Yeah.
yes.
They're all AFSCME, yes.
Yeah, there's a
I'm
column.
talking about the employees, the page
Oh, the first
before.
General health.
Yes,
So
they're-
we do,
Are they?
Well, not all of
union?
them except, yeah, Jeff.
we
No, they
we do have some non-union. So,
Who is non-union?
so the Director Fonzino is part of
Oh,
the
that's the
management,
first
so
page.
we consider him unrepresented or non-union, just as all of the directors are. And our deputy municipal department head falls into the non-union management.
But
Was,
they're,
was that position authorized last year?
Yes.
and they're all covered under the salary guide ordinance we passed. the end of
Correct,
last year.
yes,
So they're all contractual.
yeah. They're not considered a union. Well, they follow the AFSCME,
Yeah,
yeah,
follow those.
yeah.
Okay,
Are you finished, Councilwoman?
yes.
Councilman Castellino, did you have a question? Follow up at all?
No, I just wanted to help Councilwoman.
Okay, so second page of the employees, have we drained that? Any other questions? Shall we go on to the next page?
Animal control. Same thing.
So this is our animal control division. We have 2 full-time animal control officers. Again, this is all contractual increases.
Any questions on this page? Shall we go on?
Sure. Nurses.
This is our public health nursing division, and for, as it's outlined in the budget, senior citizen health. We have 2 full-time nurses. We have a senior public health nurse and a public health nurse, and we have a keyboarding clerk who will be retiring as of August 1st this year.
So again, we have an opportunity for proration for the particular employee, because when this was contemplated and put together, we didn't know if anybody was retiring, so.
Well, are you replacing the employee? Like, you need someone there?
Well,
I-
I'll leave to the director
Yeah,
to
if
speak.
you want me to address that now, I was going to address that in the operating
Okay.
part. I could tell you what my plan was going to be.
Okay,
But the short answer is I'm not looking to replace this keyboard and clerk right now. I have a different plan.
okay. And just to follow up on that question, Because when I first started 10 years ago here, the nursing staff, you had more nurses. Or how you only operating with, how you operate with only 2 full-time nurses? You used to have
Yes.
part-timers, and how we functioning?
So we're doing a lot less services because we have a lot more around us with Sioux Fall and
Oh,
Barnabas. And so there's a lot of competition out there, and it's over time, it's just kind of morphed into, we do minimal stuff in-house and refer people out, for other services.
okay.
I
so
mean,
we're
we
not
bring services in.
jeopardizing our
No,
residents, but you
No.
have them supplemented to the other programs.
correct. We're getting the same level of service, but we're not having to pay as that many, many nurses to do the work.
All right.
Do we need to have nurses?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay, what, can you
Absolutely.
explain?
Sure,
I'm just
sure.
not.
Mm-hmm.
not
So the
understanding.
main function of public health nurses, is they do communicable disease investigations on a daily basis. So what that means is when somebody is diagnosed with a communicable disease, it gets reported to the State Department of Health through a centralized system, through, a laboratory, a doctor's office, what have you. It goes to the State Department of Health through the communicable disease reporting system. And then that gets funneled down to the local municipality where that individual resides. There's certain diseases that the nurses are required to follow up on to make sure they don't spread. Like we had to investigate every single COVID case that came through this municipality,
Mhm.
which was thousands and thousands, to ensure that people don't get sick and die. So that's their main role. And
Schools.
school audits, immunization audits. Children are required to have certain immunizations to enter school and daycares. So they're going out to all our schools and daycares and making sure that they're in compliance with all those regulations.
Don't the school nurses take care of that?
Yes, but they check the school nurses. So they're auditing the nurses. This is a state requirement.
Yeah,
Like we do homebound, assessments and vaccinations to people who can't get out to to say a doctor right away. And, we'll do like an initial screening. We don't do treatment per se. It's more screening. We run educational programs. We coordinate, vaccination clinics, flu clinics, COVID clinics,
Mhm.
those types of things.
Our seniors.
Yeah, and it's mostly for our senior population. Yes, they're based out of their office spaces at the bottom of the rent a house.
Any other questions? Let's move on to the next page then, please. The operating budget.
Okay, so this is our general health operating budget. I've asked for pretty much the same as it's been in previous years. You might question why, some of the spending was less. Again, we were using grant money to offset costs over the past 4 years, so we haven't had to use the full amount, but always want to have it there in case we need it. So the only increase that I'm asking for here is in line 041 under the Essex Regional Health Commission. I'm asking for an additional $10,448 to that line to provide rodent control services, which
yes.
entails baiting. We have a serious rodent problem here in the township that needs to be addressed, and it's getting worse and worse every year. And we're trying our very hardest to combat it, not only with pest management, but with containing garbage throughout the township.
What about investment in better garbage cans?
We're
With-
looking at that as well.
Wouldn't that be a better investment than going
It's-
after the rats?
No.
It's got to be a combination of a bunch of different things.
So
It's
in
not
here,
just-
where's the budget for better garbage cans?
They're not in here.
They didn't get approved.
Actually,
last year.
Councilwoman, you brought up a good point. So we have been in contact with our caller And what we would like to do and what we wanted to present to the council when we get through this is that we're looking to do a pilot program with lifting containers such as the carts, basically, that we brought to you last year when we were talking about doing the garbage, and the council at the time asked for data. So we have contacted our vendor to see that we can do an area of town, which we've identified. We're not gonna talk about it now because we don't want to get people, but
Excited.
it would be a controlled area. It would be a volunteer plan.
Good.
We feel like we need about 500 carts, and our service provider said they would help us get the data with readers. Each cart would have a chip on it, so we can actually see how much garbage we're collecting and how it may reduce the vermin infestation problem in that specific area of town. So, and that's a program that we've been contacting one of our attorneys, and we've also spoke to, again, to the health department. So this is a pilot program that we would like to bring to you if this council so inclined to,
We love it.
to move forward with it. So that's just something it's not for tonight's consideration. It would be something with the capital. But it is a program that we've been working on, and we could talk more about it offline if you need to. But that's just want to throw that out there because he's mentioning about the vermin control and the garbage.
Well, he
So-
still needs to do the baiting because that's what started this problem was when the baiting wasn't being completed because the rules got changed from the state. And I mean, I know just in my section of town, it's been a nightmare.
Mhm.
And it continues to be a nightmare through a lot of sections of town. So I'm very happy to hear you're able to bring this back.
Yeah, so what we would be doing is using the additional appropriation to contract with Essex Regional for that specific service. They provide several services
Yeah.
for us. So that number includes all the services.
Good.
With the addition of the rodent control services. So since we've talked about this from last year, they've had all their staff certified as New Jersey, pesticide applicators. They have the appropriate license to do this work for our township and any other townships they contract with.
You're awesome. We don't need to be on Channel 2 News again
Correct.
for having rats.
Correct.
You also have a line item in here for pest control rodent bait. Isn't that redundant then?
That's just to buy the bait. So it's a small number just to purchase bait.
But the bait is also included in the Health Essex Regional.
I'm not sure at this point if I don't have a draft contract yet. It may, but it's
Minimal.
only a couple $100. I mean,
Where can you save money?
where can I save money? Well, I'm gonna get to that. Not here.
What is this e-cig enforcement?
So we have a local ordinance for e-cigarette. So establishments that sell vapes and e-cigarettes are required to get a license through the township. It's a $2,000 license. And it's an annual license in order to sell those products. And the enforcement line that you see there is for our inspectors to go out. This is outside of their normal work duty, so it's done as an overtime activity to go out and make sure they have the license and that they're in compliance with all the guidelines as set forth by the ordinance.
Why is this an overtime duty?
Because we do a lot of things during the day that would never
So
get done.
if this can't be done during the day and we're paying overtime, should we eliminate that?
I wouldn't suggest it.
No, e-cigarettes, you want that
We
regulated.
collect 2,000,
Yeah.
we have, right now, we collect $30,000 a year in licenses. In the ordinance, it specifically says that the money goes back
To
into
fund
the
this.
funds to do education and enforcement for our school children
Mhm.
and to make sure that these establishments aren't selling to minors and things like that. So I don't know that you want to eliminate that.
What is the maintenance noise meter? Since we don't have a noise
Machine.
ordinance that regulates
We have a noise
decibels.
meter.
Okay, but why does it cost
Yeah, why does it
$500 a
use-
year if it's not being used?
Because when it has to be serviced, you have to pay to get it serviced.
So shouldn't we eliminate that? We don't have a decibel enforcement code right now.
Sure, you could eliminate it, but then we can't use piece of equipment that we purchased. It's gonna be, money down the drain. So if it ever.
But
has
when
to
we
be-
do have a decibel requirement, we can use the maintenance policy. We can get it maintained. We don't have that now. And it's in the budget.
It's $500. I would just.
Every
leave it.
penny counts.
You know what, Councilwoman, I know that, but at the same token, they need to function. So if say
But
the
he's saying
noise.
it's not being used.
Guys,
I have,
one at a time.
Okay.
I have no
Mr.
objection.
Fonzino, can you just hold on a second?
Sorry.
I just want to make sure
I
that
apologize.
there's, no, that's okay. We need to talk one at a time so everybody can keep straight. Did you guys finish your conversation?
Well, we don't know what we're doing yet with the noise ordinance. So say if we do decide, if it does go metered, I don't know. I just hate, we have the machine. I'm kind of aggravated that we don't break it out and use it now, to tell you the truth, because we've had some issues that it could register if we could figure out enforcement. I mean, we've been racking our brains with this noise ordinance but that's only for your department to use it. It's not for the police to use it.
It's just 1 meter for the health department. And honestly, it's not really even being used for enforcement purposes. If we had to do a screening just to get an idea of something, I have a machine to get an idea. I'm not using it for enforcement purposes. It would be
Okay.
a lot more money if we were using the meter for enforcement purposes for the maintenance. So if you'd like to cut it, I have no objection, but I will not be able to use if the meter breaks down, I won't be able to use it for those purposes. That's
Okay.
all.
Can I make a recommendation that we cut it?
Sure.
We're looking for cuts.
Yeah, I'm just saying
So
like that if
this
if it breaks down, then I won't be able, like, if you ask me to just hypothetically go out and take noise readings to get an idea
It's
of where
silly.
we're at and it's broken, I won't be able to get it repaired. It's junk. That's all.
Does it not work right now?
No, but it needs to be calibrated.
Is it calibrated now?
It has to get calibrated every year.
Okay.
So it costs a couple $100s to get it calibrated. So what I'm saying is, if, I don't mind you cutting it, but I would
It's gonna
never
be
be able to
garbage.
use the equipment because it's not calibrated.
Right, I understand, but
So-
right now we don't,
It's due for calibration.
I understand. So you spent it this year and you're
Correct.
requesting to spend it.
Correct.
Okay, and since our noise ordinance is not approved by the state and we cannot use anything having to do with decibels, it's just an exercise in
Again,
futility
it
right
would
now.
only be used for screening purposes. It would not be used for enforcement purposes.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So I'm fine with you cutting it. Just understand the ramifications if we need to use the machine for screening purposes.
I see the hand up just a second. Mr. Fonzino, what would be a typical use of this if it wasn't for enforcement? What would you use it for?
Again, it's just to get an idea, like we use the Essex Regional to do the enforcement part of the noise ordinance.
Mhm.
But before we call them out, like I would
okay.
say, it would just go out to get a rough idea. People have these apps on their phones now and things like that, which are not really accurate and they could never be used for enforcement purposes. But they are essentially a screening device. That's essentially what this meter is that we have.
So in essence, somebody calls the health department and says, I need to complain about this noise. You go out and you see if it's anywhere close to
Yeah.
taking
like-
the next step to see if it's enforceable.
We've had issues up at the environmental center in the past where somebody's complaining of noise. Before we get Essex Regional out there,
Okay,
I go up there with the meter and say, oh, do we have a problem here or do we not? That's really what it's used for.
okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Councilwoman Scarpa?
Yeah, I just wanted to better understand this. So, is this piece of equipment any better than using a cell phone app? Is there
Yes,
any,
I would say yes.
I didn't hear them. You
and,
said-
and
Oh,
what does Essex Regional do? Like if we have, when do we call them and for what purpose?
They provide a number of different services for us, Councilwoman. They provide air pollution control services, water pollution control, noise pollution control. They're agents of the DEP. So they enforce all the the CHA, which is the County Environmental Health Act regulations through the DEP.
Can I ask you
Is there
something?
a
We,
cost to have them come out? Or do they do?
Well,
that
we,
as a-
we pay them a fee, a yearly fee, and that's included in the $35,000 line that I'm speaking of.
So then why do we need to test it first? If we hear that there's a noise, why not just let them go out and do their job?
We can, but that's not, it's not always a circumstance where they can enforce that particular thing. So I'll give you a for instance. If somebody is, again, a neighbor is complaining about another neighbor's pool pump. Well, let me just go out with this noise meter and see how loud it really is, just to get an idea.
Mhm.
That's not something Essex Regional enforces. They enforce the state noise code. And they would
Okay.
enforce the model noise code if we had adopted it.
Mhm. Okay, so it gives you a realistic picture of the problem.
Yeah, it helps.
Okay, thank you.
Is there a
Uh-huh.
question?
Yeah.
Good.
yes. How often have you used this? And since we've had so many complaints recently in our neighborhood institutions, have you used it to check out whether or not any of those complaints are valid?
I have not.
Okay, so, and have you used it at all this year?
No.
All right. So to me, that seems like it, and we do contract with an agency that you can call in if
Not
there's
for
a,
screening purposes, no.
right, not for screening purposes. However, we cannot write a summons based on your screening because
No.
that, it does not,
No, I'm trying to make that clear. I'm not using this piece of equipment for enforcement.
right.
Yeah.
It helps
So,
him do his job
but he says he's not using it.
so far this year, but when the environmental center gets noisy, he'll run up there.
We,
This is the season.
if we wanted to have a screening done on something, you'd have to hire a consultant who would pay, who would charge a lot more than $500. But listen, if $500 makes a difference in your budget, I have no objection. Just understand that we can't use the equipment if it's not calibrated, even for screening purposes.
I think you got to pick and choose your battles,
Well,
Council.
that's an item that I would say that we can,
Okay.
we cannot use, but that's a judgment that we can make when other people weigh in too.
You might want to come back to it when I show you where I can save more significant amount of money
Of course.
down the road. So you might change your thought on that, but
Please go ahead, Mr. Fonzino.
okay. So that was the only line there that I'm requesting an increase in general health. Moving on to,
We're going to the next page.
that's just a continuation of.
Yeah, just total.
Yeah, those are
Okay.
just the totals. So the next OE is the Senior Citizen Transportation Program. This is a pretty straightforward operating budget. So I don't know if you have any questions.
And to remind the council, the senior transportation program was part of what we spoke about last night with the whole transportation division. And so this was included into also part of supporting the jitney service. So it's all one office now, and when we assumed the responsibility of the entire jitney service, we took the salaries and wages of what we were paying, or I should say what we were paying the vendor at the time, and transferred it over to run the system here.
Mr. Titinia, can you tell us why we're not seeing what was actually paid or charged in 2024?
No,
on
you
all
are-
of these items?
You are, that's all that was paid or charged. So a lot of the cleaning was charged to other departments. For 2025, we're going to make sure that it is segregated to the omnibus. I know it's a senior citizens transportation program, but it's the omnibus program. But that is what was charged last year, was $191.41.
We were still using a lot of stockpile from COVID that DPW had in terms of cleaning wipes and things like that. So
You depleted all.
we've pretty much depleted that now.
We had a busload.
Any other questions on this page?
Okay, moving on to animal control. Everything I'm requesting here is the same as last year, so if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them at this time.
Is there a plan to move the animal control location?
There's no concrete plan, but as you know, it's part of the redevelopment and the administration does want to keep the facility in town. We've looked at different options and there's not a lot of people out there that want to take us on as a contract. So, but we haven't found a location at this point in time.
So that's not part of the over view of where things are going to be relocated at this point. Is that not part of the plan? That this is going to be relocated someplace?
This particular building was, if you're referring to what we talked about feasibility study that I mentioned
Yes.
last night. This particular building was not included with that because this is for the animals themselves. So we are looking at a couple of areas that we've had some discussions on how maybe we could do a public-private partnership with people, because this isn't a building that is similar to what we have to do for staff. So we did not include it in that study because we just don't, quite frankly, don't have the land on our property as of right now that would be amenable to this. So so we're looking, and this is not something that we're forgetting about, but it's just something that this along with where our vehicles for the DPW is something that we're trying to find to put together. So we're moving staff in the feasibility study, equipment and supplies such as this, or, a facility such as this. That's a separate discussion. And it's an important discussion. We're not dismissing it any less than we have to worry about where we're going to put our vehicles and things of that nature.
Right, but these are animals and there are people working in the building, and you were testing it for asbestos, which it probably has, and it's also in a
Well, that's
contaminated zone.
That's a statement you shouldn't make without validity. Just because you think it may have asbestos doesn't mean.
I didn't say
it.
it did. I said
Well,
I said it was being tested for asbestos.
And you said possibly have it. So possibly means it could have it. It could not have it. We wait for the results and then we will share those results with you. So.
Any other questions from this page? Or
I haven't
anything
had a
else you want
chance
to
to
add,
look.
Mr. Fonzino?
Did any of the any of the vet doctors in town able to partner?
We're
with-
looking at public-private partnerships.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Means we're looking at public-private partnerships. We're looking to get in contact with somebody in the private sector to help us out and facilitate. That's what it means,
Probably a vet.
which would be in the veterinary field. We've had some discussions and we're trying to figure that out. It's unfortunate, but it's not as simple as just finding a spot and building it. We want to make sure that the animal control and the animals being taken care of are in a way that represents the philosophy of the health department with the no-kill shelters and things of that nature. So
Nice.
that's why we need to find out what we can do with that.
Let me just further that point. I mean, it's important to understand that we're not a shelter.
do
No, I know, I'm just saying for everyone's benefit here. Our facility is a holding facility and we're not a no-kill shelter. I consider us a low-kill shelter because we do make every effort to adopt out animals that are adoptable. We work with a number of rescues. We have a huge success rate. You look at our annual statistics, we kill very little. So with that being said, the shelter being a holding facility does have to meet certain requirements and things like that. We are not operating a shelter. Like, we don't have attendants there. It's not open all the time. The animal control officers are in and out of there every day, 7 days a week to attend to the animals, but that's not their office. And it's primarily, like Mr. Smeraldo said, it's a housing for the animals.
Right, but when animals are there for 2 years, it's no longer just a holding facility. It is operating as a shelter. So my concern is that I wish that this would be a higher priority to move this.
Well,
and
we
to-
are exploring it. I mean,
Okay.
I'm not sitting here saying we're not looking at options. We just have not found a viable option at this point. And we've looked to go to other towns like Montclair, and we even looked to partner with Livingston, and we have too many animals for them to take us on.
Nobody wants to accept
Yes.
this.
Yeah.
So we are actively trying to find a solution. We just we're not there yet.
Been the problem. Nobody wanted
For,
this.
what is the vet service trust? You have 9,000, but it looks like nothing was spent.
So if we look at the bottom line for the animal control budget, we're really asking the taxpayers for, $2,100 because the majority of all of these services are paid for out of the animal control trust. So the receipts that come into the animal control trust come from selling dog licenses and, I'm sure there's donations and cat licenses and adoption fees and all that sort of stuff. That goes into the trust and then it pays for these services. So we ask the taxpayers for very little to run this particular department. So the previous CFO, and I guess the way it was set up before, was to sort of show, anticipated costs, but it gets charged to a trust. So it's not getting charged to the line item budget. So that's why I say the real ask for this department is $2,100.
Thank you.
Anything else?
How much do you bring in terms of licensing?
Financially wise,
Yeah.
I don't have that number off the top of my head, but we could get it for you.
Okay.
And a portion goes to the state on every license. So there's a revenue split.
Did you have a question on that line item or are you good? Okay, oh, I'm sorry. Okay, so this is the Senior Citizen Health Center operating budget, our Public Health Nursing Division. So this is where I'm looking for some increases, but I think we can save some money for the township by doing what I propose as a plan. So just going from the top, I'm requesting an increase, lines 050, $360 increase for the nurses' liability insurance. We have 2 nurses. The figure was much lower when we only had 1 nurse. We now have 2 nurses that we need to reimburse for their personal liability insurance. That's the ask there. The next line, 081, asking for an additional $250 for nursing training and for their licensure reimbursement costs.
It looks like there's a big jump in professional
Yes,
services.
that's going there next.
Okay,
Okay, so we are asking for $30,000 in the professional services for a consulting public health nursing supervisor. This position was previously funded through our NAJACHO Enhancing Local Public Health Infrastructure Grant, which I stated at the beginning of the hearing that got cut this past March. This is a mandatory position as per the public health practice standards of New Jersey. And we're looking to fill it with a professional service agreement with a nurse practitioner who's, was currently filling the role through the grant. My plan here is to take the money that would have gone towards the keyboarding clerk, the 59, take the 30,000 out of there to fund the public health nurse supervisor, and the balance would go back into the general trust.
Question. So without losing your keyboard person, who's doing your administrative duties for that nursing department?
There really isn't a need at this point in time that the nurses are able to manage. I'm not saying we might not need it down the road, but right now it's more important that we get this supervisor on staff.
So I get that, but doesn't a lot of paperwork, especially dealing with the school. Did they all get online, those blue cards? I know when I was at the school board, they were
It's,
supposed to get the programs and get online.
there's some of it's automated. I'm not 100% familiar with the whole
Okay.
process, but they complete a lot of the paperwork out in the field. It's not something a keyboarding clerk is
Yeah,
doing. Yeah.
okay.
The
All right, just
keyboarding
like-
clerk was doing more scheduling when we were doing more clinics and things like that. We're doing a lot less of that now, so the demand is a lot less. The need is really for the supervisor.
Technologies.
Yeah, the technology, they have iPads and
Okay,
laptops
I
and
mean
things like
that, yeah, I mean, you would know. I just,
So-
In the past, they may have collected data, brought it back to the clerk. Now it's a lot of the stuff, and the goal of this administration and prior to is that we want to become a paperless community. And so with the technology we're using, we're becoming paperless,
Yeah.
Each year, we're getting more and more closer to that goal.
We're trying to go like paperless charts and things like that. So it's a lot of the stuff
Okay.
is online.
One day.
we'll see.
Well, the thing is, you're already there.
Really?
I've got a digital copy of the budget, so I'm just saying. Anyway, I'm sorry. I should not have interrupted.
You
Please
digress.
go ahead.
Folks are welcome.
Sorry.
What are
Okay.
the utilities? Fairmount?
Okay, so utilities, so in the past, we haven't had to pay them recently, but we used to pay the rent-a-house for gas, electric, and water utility. We haven't been invoiced, but we have the money there in case they ask us again. But we are using a portion of it to supply potable drinking water because there's no drinking water fountain in the center itself. A person would have to go, get water out of a bathroom faucet if they wanted a drink of water.
Okay,
So, so we provide water.
right. And is this something that can be cut? I mean, everybody who's there also lives there, so they can also go to their apartment for water
That's not necessarily
or
true.
bring a water bottle.
Yeah, it's not necessarily true. I wouldn't cut it because if they ask for utilities, where are we paying it from?
Question with the retirement. Until the person retires, you really can't pull them from this budget, right?
No, but the date is August 1st, so.
Was it they
have
pull
to
back their,
prorate it from
they
there.
pulled back their papers or that's happened? in the
Yeah, I mean,
past too?
that could happen. They can pull their retirement. That's kind of why I don't bring up these things until they
Yeah.
happen, but
That's where.
yes,
I'm
it's a
surprised we're having
possibility.
That conversation, truthfully.
It doesn't happen often, but it does happen. People say they're gonna put in
Yeah,
and then decide, and especially with those who are in the PERS because they want to do something to protect their pension and the insurance. So and they have a right to do so. They could submit every year and not retire. We can't tell them not to. Not so much with police and fire, but the PERS because it has to deal with their pension and the insurance in their pension.
and the $2,700 Rutgers charge, I assume that was a grant that's gonna get funded again?
No, that, Councilwoman is, for tuberculosis control.
Yeah,
The Rutgers University Hospital was receiving state funding for many years. And they didn't offset that cost to the township because they were getting state funding. Their funding has been cut tremendously. So now
charging it.
they're asking for some money from each municipality for their services.
Okay,
I just want to go back to 140, the utilities.
Go ahead.
You mentioned that it's for providing water.
So the space is out of the rent-a-house.
Yes.
So this is way before me, but whatever agreement was in place, the township paid the utilities, gas, electric, and water. Okay, we haven't been invoiced. I haven't been invoiced. I didn't ask for an invoice, but that money is there to pay those utilities for the building.
Should they bill? How long have they not billed?
I don't know.
How long have you worked here?
In this capacity?
Yes.
I've been the director since 2021.
Okay, so it hasn't happened in 5 years, almost. So can we eliminate this as a line item?
I
And
would
if-
recommend it.
If we need it, or cut this drastically down because it's just holding money in a space and we need to cut at least $1 million from this budget. So we're looking at everything.
So you have 356 that you actually spent last year. I would cut it.
Do you think you can pull it from somewhere else if they start charging us?
If they
utilities?
start charging, then you'll come back to us and we'll
Well,
authorize
I
that.
mean, They start charging us in the middle of the year. I mean,
Right, but in
Not
5
either.
years, unless they're listening to this broadcast, they're not coming. Right?
I don't know, Councilwoman. I can't predict the future.
Okay,
Okay.
I would say,
Mr. Tadiniak says we could find a spot
okay,
for it. So
so,
if you want to reduce it so that we
Yes.
could just provide water, that would be fine with me.
Want it 500? Change it to 500.
well, they've only used 300 last year, so why don't we just say 300 in this? And
We used more than 300 last year. I think 500 is fair. We cut it in half.
it's more than you used last year.
Now, Councilwoman. if
I'll
you
ask
go
for
with
5,
the
whatever you
regular
decide.
budget done.
Okay. We'll mark that as a,
I'm sorry,
Okay.
what's the final number?
500.
To make the budget amount 500, okay.
Anything else?
Scarpa.
Question.
Oh. Councilwoman,
Yeah, why do we need a supervisor for nurses? They are professionals. I know we have in the schools a number of supervisors, which are not exactly the most necessary. Is there a reason why we have to have professionals supervised?
Yes, it's mandated by the public health practice standards of the state of New Jersey.
and the cost
of it was
previously covered by a grant.
A grant, and historically, it's always been a full-time employee. We're doing with a part-time consultant. We're able to fill that requirement with a part-time consultant as opposed to a full-time employee with benefits.
So the nurses aren't certified to be, one of the nurses isn't certified to be to take on this responsibility? It has
The
to be a
super-
separate person, supervisory person?
Yes, the supervisor has higher credentials than the other 2 nurses, correct?
And Mr. Fonzino, I'm sorry to interrupt, Councilman Scarpa, but maybe just clarify. This person has already been doing this job for us.
Correct.
Just want to,
And right now she's doing it pro bono because the grant ran out.
Mhm.
So West Orange resident.
And how many hours do they need to be supervised? I mean, can we cut the amount of this person? How much supervision do these nurses need?
So she does a lot more than she's paid for, but it's about 8 hours a week of oversight.
And what does she actually do?
She makes sure that we're adhering to the public health practice standards, all the deliverables and things that we're required to by state law to do. Disease investigation, outbreak investigations, school
Sounds
immunization
like a very
audits.
sounds like a very administrative task.
She's a supervisor.
Well, I guess if it's necessary, can we cut the hours?
I'm sorry?
Can we cut the hours?
I mean, that's really not a lot of hours, to be honest with you.
That's not a lot of hours, but it's $72 an hour.
She's a DNP.
Okay.
Yeah.
It-
She's a
we-
professional. I mean, she's not just
Mhm.
a registered nurse.
Used to have a much larger nurse.
Yeah, she's been a huge asset. She's
Yeah.
been able to write prescriptions for vaccinations for our homebound people. She's been a tremendous asset. I can't
Is she
imagine-
doing this position that you were training to do? Is that what this is about? Is this the position that you're training for or
Me?
looking to get? Yeah, wasn't there something
No,
you?
just
no.
hold on a
That
second,
public
please.
health nurse that we
No, I'm
had
not a
in the past?
nurse.
please, Mr. Fonzino, please don't respond for a second. Councilwoman Scarpa, I know you are anxious to get the information and I know you're focused on benefits for the seniors, but please let Mr. Fonzino finish his question. Okay, please?
Sure.
Thank
ahead.
you. Please, go ahead, Councilwoman.
No, I mean, that's, I just, was wondering if that's something that there could be some economies of scale there moving forward. That's all I was alluding to.
Mr. Fonzino?
Oh, I was just saying, I'm not a nurse, so I would not be able to, this is not something I'm training for. It's not a role I could fill.
And every other municipality has to have a professional like this in addition to their nursing staff?
All of them.
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Yeah, do other municipalities have to have this supervisory person in addition to their nursing staff?
Yes.
Okay, so this is a position that is
Yeah,
necessary, I
it's
guess.
required by the practice standards. That's,
Mhm.
across the board.
Mhm. Okay.
Anything else on this page?
No, I don't have anything else.
Mr. Fonzino, do you have anything else?
That's it. That's all I have unless there's any other questions.
I just have a question in terms of longer range thinking. I'm impressed with how you wanted to handle the potentially retiring person to fill a gap caused by the loss of funding. Is there anything else that you see on the horizon in the next 2 or 3 years that we should be thinking about, keeping in mind in terms of where you want to take the department or where you think that the market demand will be taking the department?
No, I'm pretty comfortable with where we're at right now. In terms of funding, we're always looking for additional grants. We are still getting one grant through the Department of Health. Still remains to be seen if they're gonna renew it for the upcoming year. It expires at the end of June. So we're still waiting to hear on that, and how much the money's gonna be but again, we're always working with the grant writers to find
Good.
funding to offset our costs as much as possible. We're pretty diligent about that. I mean, close to $2 million. I'm pretty proud to say that we did a great job in conjunction with the grant writer, bringing those grants in and offsetting, portions, not all full salaries, but portions of the nurses and the environmental health specialists and some of the admin staff. We've really spread it out, my salary. So I think we do a pretty good job where we can. So, I hope you would support, these increases that we're requesting so that we can continue to operate the way, we'd like to be able to serve our residents.
I have another question when it's appropriate.
Please go ahead, Councilwoman.
Yeah, moving forward in terms of streamlining costs, couldn't one of the nurses who are currently there be elevated to this supervisory position in the future so that we don't have this additional $30,000 cost?
Eventually, I would say yes, but she's not there yet. She's relatively new to public health. The two nurses are relatively new to public health.
Right. So how quickly could we accomplish that? If
I
we
don't know,
were
Councilman. I
looking-
mean, experience is gained over time. So, they're good nurses. I would assume that, they'll gain experience pretty quickly. I can't give you an answer as to how quickly. But, we're certainly that's the goal, is to get them to that point.
Is it a degree that they need or is it clinical hours?
They have the degree, but yeah, it's experience. It's not clinical hours. It's just experience on the job and learning, all aspects of it.
And then is it a test that they take?
It depends how you fund it. I mean, the only test that would be for this would be a civil service test, but that's not applicable the way we're looking to fund it. We're looking to use
So
a
we have-
consultant.
So we have no idea of the amount of hours they would need to be able to take that test and to get this certification?
There's no certification. This is strictly based on experience.
Councilwoman, I'm sorry. Councilwoman, in order for a person, if we wanted to make this into a full-time position with one of our staff, we would have to notify civil service, go get a test administered. It would be an open and competitive test. And they would have to sit for it. Typically, a test like this would be what they call a desk audit. They would look at their credentials and things of that nature. And realizing that even while it may be saving on this part-time vendor salary of $30,000, there will be a cost to promoting a supervisor from within. And with that cost, that it also elevates the amount of their contributions and everything else. So I'm not sure. Well, I don't know what the figure is right now in our salary guide. It could potentially be a savings, but it's not going to be as a significant savings as eliminating $30,000.
I'd just like us to look at that moving forward.
Sure.
Okay, thanks.
Councilwoman.
Mr. Fontaine, I just want to thank you since you've taken over the department last year, unexpectedly with the death of the prior supervisor. You've done a tremendous job. You had a lot of challenges between the garbage contract and navigating, the legislative body and all the other challenges that were thrown your way. So I want to thank you. I think it's been an outstanding year for you and all your efforts. And, I know former director would be proud.
Thank you,
So,
Councilwoman.
just wanted-
I greatly appreciate that. I enjoy what I do, and it's my pleasure to serve in this capacity, and I'll do whatever I could do to make it better.
Great job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fonzino.
Thank you. So is there any other questions or?
Well, I'm sorry to ask just a few more questions, just because I'm looking back. Do you actually use typewriters?
We do.
You do?
Yes.
And do you maintain them every year?
We do.
Okay, and the medical equipment, I mean, I'm just seeing in certain areas you have not paid any. There were no charges for the 2024.
Yeah, again, going back to what I was saying earlier, the grants that we lost funded a lot of this.
Okay.
A lot of this equipment. We got a lot of PPE, personal protective equipment from the county health department, which, these stockpiles are good, but they're starting to dwindle. So we're going to need to replenish that stock because it does run out.
And,
So, but that's why there's no, expenditure there.
and as crazy as it sounds, things such as gloves and masks and stuff, and I know this from my previous career, they have an expiration date on it.
Correct.
And you cannot allow your personnel to wear something. It may have the same capability of protection, but if it has an expiration date, we've had to take ambulances out of service by the Department of Health because we had an expired gauze until we replenished the gauze. So it's just, it's a matter of safety and PIOSH and OSHA and the Office of Public Health.
Thank you so
Good.
much.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You.
Council President, before we bring up our next director, I just want to poll the council, as I spoke to you before. At last night's meeting, we spoke about changing our budget meeting next week from the 28th to the 29th. What I need to poll the council right now is, and Councilwoman Scarpa, I know you've been tied up at home, is everybody coming in person next week, anticipate, or are we going to do it online? And the reason I asked is I spoke to our IT department today, and depending on how we deliver this meeting, depends on what kind of platform we have to use, and we have to figure out that logistically. So I'm just asking your choice as to what you're going to do, so I can help coordinate this with our IT department tomorrow. So
I need to be online.
you had to, okay, Councilwoman, that answers my question, basically. If one person's going to be online, then we have to do it that way.
You're talking about the 29th?
Yes,
So we do have council connection.
right. We
that
spoke about
night,
that last
so-
night.
So I guess we'll be here.
We were going to have, I think
It's 5 to 6 and then.
you have a 5 to 6, and then you would have your council meeting at 6 o'clock.
Physical therapy, so I'm not gonna be able to make the connection, but I will join virtually when I'm done with therapy.
So that answers my question. If you're not accessible to be here, I have to talk to the IT department to make it happen.
Yes,
That's all.
please. Thank
Okay.
you.
All right, that was a quick, easy question. Thank you.
Can we have a 2-minute break?
Certainly.
We need a health
Let's-
break.
Let's have a 5-minute break. It is now 8:10. We will resume at
See,
8:15.
Bill's not here. Who are you bringing up next?
To members in the Zoom audience, I will be putting it
Oh,
on
he's
mute.
here, so-
There is nothing wrong with your computer. Members in the Zoom audience, thank you for your patience. Your computer did not break. We were on mute and we are now resuming the meeting. Council President.
Thank you, Mr. Fagan. We now have Mr. Keough, who's head of the Recreation Department, as our witness to go over his section of the budget. Mr. Keough, welcome.
How are you, sir?
I'm doing okay. I hope you are too. So, as I do with all the directors, if you have a particular way you would like to present your operational or budget position, we're happy to listen to it, or if you would like to just start with the budget, we can do that too. It's whatever.
Yeah,
And
let's just start with the budget.
okay. If you'll just give me a second.
This is all you have in your department? These 4 people, that's it? Other than the part
So,
timers?
yeah, for full time. Mhm.
Cool. Wow.
Okay. We are now on the next
Wow.
page of the packet that Mr. Detiniak provided. It's the page following the one we just went over with health. And open to any questions about this page. It is the page of the personnel
Yeah.
in the department.
Yeah, I'm gonna make a comment.
Councilwoman, please do.
Yeah, I am in shock that they are down to 4 full timers. I know you've had retirements, you never replaced anybody.
Well, don't forget, there was a restructuring many years ago and a lot of
Yeah.
the people that were full-time were out in the field in the maintenance, area, whatever, and they've since kind of morphed into DPW titles.
Well, no, I'm talking your office staff. I'm like thinking of who used to be in your office and so like Candy Myrick, she like some.
Candy was
people are-
part-time.
Okay, so they're all under part-time.
Yeah, so if you look at if
Okay.
you look at the part-time hourly,
You had a few other
there's really a
full-timers.
whole breakdown on that. That's the mayor's program, Footsteps program, all our site managers,
Yeah,
all the people that work at CATS, the people that help us at our different special events. So
you're all
that's a
just-
lot of part-time
okay.
staffers.
So everybody that full-time through the years, you didn't replace and you have just part-timers then?
Yeah.
Okay,
Mhm.
wow.
Anybody else have questions on this page?
This part-time salary, we will see on the following pages.
Yeah, it's a
No,
couple pages back.
All of the,
Yeah.
where are all those salaries, the $240,000?
You're gonna see all of them?
Where,
Yeah, no, there is a lot of individuals that make up that. In following the practices of the previous CFO, this was just a one line. It was not detailed out in the packet, so I kept with that. And so, you're not going to see, I don't know how many.
Oh, God, it's dozens.
Yeah, dozens of people, part-timers you'd have.
Yeah, we have site managers, we have people that will go out in the field and supervise a lacrosse game or go in a gym and supervise a basketball tournament or something like that. We have, our special events coordinator. It's a whole range of all the support staff that we use across the board. No, that's.
Just a second.
probably not following the practice of the previous CFO is maybe a good idea, because we don't see where all the money is going for the 240,000.
I mean, you want to see the names? Like,
I'd like to see the names and I'd like to see the positions and to understand where $240,000
I think
is
we,
going.
I have to
Wait,
say,
wait,
we
wait.
used to get that.
Councilwoman has the floor.
Yeah, I'm sorry. We used to get that.
And I think you were talking to Mr. Detiniak, so.
okay, the one thing I want to be clear about, at the last meeting, we started going through personnel and you said, no, we don't want to do this. We don't want to go through personnel. And now we want to go through individual names and personnel. If you want all the individual part-timers, we will give you the payroll records of every single person that works for this town through whatever payroll date is tomorrow or 2 days from now. And we can go through it that way. Again, this is how it was done. I looked in the packet from last year. It was just listed as a part-time hourly, and it was a gross amount, and we kept the same amount as we did last year. But if you want to go through the individuals, we will provide every payroll for this year individual. I do not want to show that on the screen, but we will give that to you tomorrow morning. I don't know how that's going to affect your decision making, but we will give you all that tomorrow morning. We will send you every payroll register.
Could I just offer a potential compromise, which is to list not the individuals, but the areas where they are employed, where they work? So for example, if you have a budget line item for personnel for lacrosse, and let's just say it's $8,000, that might be a little bit easier to deal with, I think. I'm asking Councilwoman Rudin because she's the one that made the request, that maybe that's a shortcut to.
Here
So-
are the categories that they fall into, okay? The mayor's program, which is our adult program for special needs. The supervisors that work that program, and the event staff for each of their monthly events. They have a summer camp director, they have counselors, a bus driver. We have one open position as a footsteps coordinator, which is the program for special needs, younger kids, not adults. Our rec support staff is made up of part-time office, these are all part-time, office personnel, event staff, site managers, park patrol, and summer maintenance workers. Everybody is in there doing some facet of that. You know, for each of these things, there are multiple people that fall into each of these categories. So you're looking at an awful lot of people. And they're all just basically working, you know, for an hourly wage, and some of them are retired and some of them are, one or two of them, they're college kids, summer jobs. People are just looking for a little extra side money or whatever. It's the backbone of what we do. I mean, we rely on these people around the clock.
Where are the staff who are doing coaching? Coaching,
Coaches are volunteer.
the,
Coaches are volunteer.
Mr. Kehoe, can you just make sure you talk to them?
Our coaches are volunteer. We don't pay coaches.
so in our budget list that, in our bill list that we get every 2 weeks, we see a list of people who are working as like basketball
Officials.
Okay, I'm using the wrong
They're doing
word.
the games.
And so I'm just curious about, some of them have different rates.
Yes.
Yeah. And what is that based on?
All of the officials that we use are in associations, certified, you know, through certain associations. And the league sets the rate, and that's the rate we have to pay them.
You include fees as well. I mean, they have revenue that come in. So I know you're worried about the cost, but they also have revenue through the program. Parents pay for the kids to play.
Mhm.
I'm one of them.
I used to be.
I'm a soccer mom.
The programs that you just listed, the special needs, the monthly events, the summer camp, the footsteps, how long have each of these been in operation?
Mayor's program is probably 45 years. And I would say that Footsteps now is probably 18 to 20 years.
And the summer camp?
That's part of the mayor's program, yes. Same thing.
And is there any cost to the public for these programs?
Do they register to attend these things? you mean?
Yes.
Yes.
So do you make money for it? Is it a wash, in other words, to pay for this?
On its best day.
Summer maintenance, I'm assuming that's the pool?
No, well, yeah, some of them are the pool. They're the kids that do maintenance work at the pool, but they're also our Franklin Avenue unit. Are you familiar with that?
No.
Franklin Avenue unit is the group of DPW guys that are assigned specifically to us doing field prep and maintenance of flower beds and all that kind of stuff in and around the pool, all of our buildings. They hire summer kids sometimes. If the kids apply for jobs there, they'll put 2 or 3 of them on for the summer.
Is there any area in this 240,000 that you can see cutting?
Program.
Ooh. I mean, that's a tough one. I mean, like I say, the work's got to be done. Every site manager that's assigned and every official that's assigned and each person that's assigned has a specific job that's integral to that particular program. I mean, I could look at a fine tooth comb and, maybe come up with something minimal, but there has to be certain, when it comes to like camps and things like that, there's certain ratios that you want to have, especially when you're dealing with,
Kids,
kids and
special needs.
and
kids.
needs. Yeah, you have to have a certain ratio.
Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Only when
Councilman.
Councilwoman
Okay.
Wheaton is finished with her questions, you'll be the next one, Councilman Scarborough.
Okay, thank you.
Councilwoman Rudin, you want us
I
to come
said I'm
back?
done.
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed that. Councilwoman Scarpa.
Yeah, I would just like to some oversight of $250,000. I'd like to know who is staffing each of these positions, what their job descriptions are, and what the salaries are. It's a lot of money, and I think we should have some oversight of this.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're gonna have it tomorrow.
I think Mr. Detiniak said he could provide all of the payroll run rate.
You
Or
get
year
it
to
all.
the-
Every
Well, I also want a
single-
job description of what they're doing.
I mean, we're not gonna give, I can't give you a job description tomorrow. I can give you their title. I can give you what they were paid. Maybe Director Kehoe might be able to sort of fill in like a blurb
Mhm.
on each.
Yeah,
employee, but
if
I-
you get your report and you have a question about what one particular person's title is and what they're doing, just shoot me an email or whatever and I'll answer it right away.
Yeah, I
I'd like
do.
to know what each person's making.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear. What did she say?
I'd like to know what each person's making and how many
Okay.
people are staffing each individual, department or whatever.
So, yeah, but yeah, you'll get what everybody's been paid through 5/23. Because we have a pay date on Friday.
Well, I'd rather just have their annual salaries, like what they're actually
Well,
what
that's
we've
what we have
budgeted for
in,
them. Yeah.
that's what we have in all of these reports, but you'll be able to see, paid through. And then you'll see all the part-time hourly that Director Kehoe has and what they've been paid to date. Now, they're not going to be salary, they're hourly, they get paid for the hours
Right.
that they work.
But it'll say
and-
what department, what they're
Yeah,
actually
so-
doing.
So I'm asking, that's why I'm
Yeah.
typing an email right now to say it needs to be broken out by department. So it'd be employee
Absolutely.
title, each department. And then, and how much they've been paid and their annual salary.
Yeah, just
Okay,
be
great.
advised. Do you want to?
I was gonna say, just so we understand, this is a part-time hourly, so the CFO is gonna get you what has been expended so far this year. But some of these positions haven't even started yet.
Yeah,
We have
summer.
part-time summer. So, we don't even know how much the hours that's gonna be yet. We can get you an idea.
Well, we must have an estimate, right? If we have a budget for it.
Well, we
we
have an
must have
estimate. We can
estimated
get you
hours.
an estimate for it, but I'm just saying that right now we have different seasons and different employees, so we'd have to give you a rough estimate of. So.
Right, that's how you do your budget, right? That's how you get that budget number. You have to estimate this.
They are.
Well, it's part-time seasonal, so we'll get you the numbers, we'll get you the figures, and we'll get it to you tomorrow.
Okay, great.
Can you also break that down into what the hourly is, please?
You mean the hourly rate?
Yes.
You mean the hourly rate? Yes.
Anything else on this page?
No.
No, they're all contractual.
I'm good.
Great, let's move on.
Oh,
Okay,
advertising.
yes. Why so much for advertising?
That's a huge annual booklet that we put out and it gets mailed to every home. We didn't do it last year because we were in the middle of transitioning to a new special events coordinator and a lot of things were in flux and getting revised. So we are preparing to complete that in December, so it will be budgeted in 2025 and it'll actually be for the following fiscal year. So it's a big, big project.
Advertising for what?
Everything that a parent needs to know
Yeah.
about what's being offered throughout the year. The special events calendar, the different things they can sign their children up for. It's a whole promotional thing. It's like a year almanac of all that is rec.
Do you have advertisers who can be in this advertising book, who can help pay for this?
Not to date, no.
Has there been any thought about just making this an online, since everybody's looking online for this type of information anyway? And eliminating the printing of this? It's a very good compilation. It's necessary, but can we just get it online and direct our parents who are all online anyway?
You want to talk to them?
Yes.
So basically what we've done in the past is that what we try to do is, you're correct that people do look online now, but our goal there is that we want something on people's refrigerators that says, hey, this is the special events for the year. This is the pool early bird pricing deadline. So there's something that's constantly bringing the recreation department to their forefront and to their gone back to traditional mailer, because some of the feedback we're getting from the public is that they're not finding the things on the website that they want to find, or they forget about it. So we're just trying to have something that is constantly going to be in their face and remind them, hey, it's a Meet the Bunny event. Hey, it's a tree lighting. So they can kind of plan out their year and also know what's going on.
Is this in the calendar that West Orange provides?
No, this is something generated strictly by our department.
Is it possible to merge this into the calendar that is done so that when people use the calendar and they see when the bunny thing is?
I think that's easily done. We send all of our stuff to Mr. Fagan anyway, as each thing approaches. So it's on the West Orange Facebook page and all that stuff, but he also does it too. Yes, Councilman.
Work with different community partners, the school, different organizations in town to get this information out so they can e-blast it out to.
We do that. We do that already. Yep.
And just, and I mentioned this in the last budget meeting, but we have to make cuts to reduce the 6% proposed tax increase. And as you know, every 600,000 is 1%. So we have to start somewhere, and
I don't envy you.
They say it's just 13,000. Is this something that we can forego this year for the sake of our budget?
I have a comment.
I'd rather not, but I mean, I'm sure you'd rather not cut anything but you have a job to do, so.
How do we get to reducing our budget if we can't make, cuts? It's tough. It's not easy to sit up here. I support the recs, the parks, and,
Oh, I know.
I
I know.
mean, especially,
Everybody loves us. We're the ones that put smiles on people's faces. So I understand that. You got to do what you got to do. If you got a problem with something and you guys decide, then, we'll pivot.
at least until we're in a better fiscal house, but unfortunately, we're just not right now.
Understood.
And I love the idea, I'm supportive of this idea, but I think we have to do this in another year when we have the funds.
Well, we have done it we have done it. We just missed the 1 year. And it was successful.
We also made a lot of cuts last year and the year before from 16% to 8%. It's
Mhm.
we have to start somewhere. If we don't make cuts, then we're gonna be stuck at the 6%.
I understand.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Scarpa?
Yeah, I have a comment. This is a good example of have-tos and want-tos. This is something that's really nice to have, but when we have to cut a couple $1 million out of the budget, think that this is a good example of something that could be cut. It could be brought back later when we have the funds to do it, but it's something that we definitely need to look at cutting. And I think it would be good if each director would look at all of their costs and see where they think they could make some cuts, because we're all in this together and we're all going to have to do it together. And they know much better than we do what are their essentials that they have to have and what are the things that are nice to have.
Want to take anything out of advertising?
Are you done, Councilwoman?
Yes, I am.
So,
I mean, you know, if you get to the bottom and you tell me a number that's different, then I'll work it out.
Yeah. Can you cut 10% out of your budget?
10?
Well, I would like everybody who comes before us to do that. It's easier for you to decide what's,
How much-
what
let's see.
can go and, I would.
10% across the whole thing, or
That would be $18,000, Mr. Keough.
how much?
$18,000 from the year budget request.
you got
Exactly.
13 with your advertising.
I would have to cut, you want me to cut 18,000?
I'm just giving the number. You didn't seem to have it at your hand, so
Can,
that's all. I'm,
You comfortable with that, Councilwoman?
that's a good start.
I think
I think it's a great start.
okay,
Yeah.
everybody, we have to speak one at a time, please. So we can understand. So Mr. Keough has the floor. I'm not sure if he.
I'm just asking for a little guidance here.
Okay, Councilwoman.
What are you looking for?
Councilwoman Rudin was the one who's, I think, suggested this, so let's let you guys talk and then Councilwoman Castellino.
I would like to go through it, but I'd like you to be thinking in terms of, we've got to make cuts.
Understand?
And if we're looking at just 10%, then you're talking about 18. If you can make more, you get a gold star.
I do. Oh, gee. Consider it done.
Okay.
All right.
I know, I'm just trying to see. Councilwoman Rudin, are you
Well,
finished or
can
can
we-
we come back to you?
I'm done. I just want to
Okay.
continue down the line.
Okay,
well,
Councilwoman
I'd like
Castellino and
to
then
just word it.
Councilwoman Geber Michael.
Yeah, so, I'd rather see Mr. Keough make his cuts and with the 13, yeah, I know the value of the book because we've been there before with multiple conversations of what parents didn't know what and why did the event was lame. And they know how I am. If the event is lame, we all get very disappointed and we freak out. So we go the extra mile to make sure it's on social media. And no matter how much you put it on social media, and I could tell you right now with working with the PRC, the holiday open house event, I mean, they get it in the backpack at school.
Yeah.
And because they get in the backpack at school, that event is very successful. And I'm one that, talks to every person that comes in the event and asks them, how'd you hear about the event? And it was through the flyer. I'm trying to explain to you guys
Yeah.
how important this is. So that the flyer is, they saw it through the flyer and not the online. So to his point, he's going to need to do some kind of advertising. He just can't wipe out. He may not do the book, but he's going to have to do the paper flyers to bring to the school for his bigger events, or we might as well just cancel the events if he can't get attendance, because then we're just wasting taxpayers' money.
Well, what we try to do is we're trying to hit them from everything we can, short of going to each house and knocking on the door. So, we do send stuff through the schools. They are very cooperative. If we do something that is geared toward kindergarten to fifth grade, we simply tell the board, distribute this to K to fifth grade, and boom, out it goes electronically. Now, is every parent of every student opening that message up and reading it? I don't know. That's why we try to go multifaceted on this thing. We're trying to leave no stone uncovered here.
I'd rather be fair to him and say, just see where you could cut 10%. I'm not going to tell him to cut his lacrosse line or his swim line or any program line. that, I think that's up to them. They know what programs have high attendance, what have low attendance, plus they're also bringing in revenue to offset some of this programming.
Mhm.
I would
So
also- I'm sorry.
I'm happy just to go with 10%, but I want to just remind, and we talk about the haves and the have-nots. Next year, the state is pushing for New Jersey tourism, and Mr. Keogh's department is going to have to be a part of it. And at the tail end of this year, in the planning stages, Revolution New Jersey 250, where we're celebrating the country's 250th year anniversary. Also, the World Cup is going to be here in New Jersey next year. So 2026 is a big year. Downtown Lions, we're organizing 2 steering committees for the summertime to get folks on board with this. And the township is going to have to find through the recreation just a couple dollars, not a lot of money, but this will bring tremendous tourism and economic development opportunities to our town if we do it right. And, you know, I'm just gonna put that out there to remind Mr. Keogh, when you do make your cuts, you know, see what you could do.
I don't know,
Keep it
I don't know
up.
how we could cut and add at the same time, but you'll have to advise me on that one. But I could tell you that, you know, my department ran this sesquicentennial celebration in
Yes.
town. I was proud to be the chair of that.
There it is.
There it is, up in the box, the green box. And we did have funds. I mean, the township did provide funds for us to do different events and to hold things. So,
The Vietnam Wall.
yeah, if it comes to that it happens in this year that I need these funds, I may very well end up back here and saying, hey, guys, by the way, if you want us to be front and center with this thing, you're gonna have to help me out a little bit. So, you know, I just wanted to preface, you know, that with that to you, that I may be back knocking on your door, you know, come November or something, saying like, you know, I need some money. If the township is going to be active in these events and it's going to turn into a big thing, we have to, you know, we have to be prepared.
And I know Mr. Fagan's sitting there probably biting his tongue because he's, you know, on the state commission. So it's a big push, and for the right reasons. It brings
Well, whatever we're asked to do, we'll do. You know, you can count on us.
economic development to the towns.
Mhm.
Okay, I said my piece.
Councilman Gilmore.
I said my piece with this one too.
Oh, okay.
Can I make some suggestions maybe?
Mhm.
The fertilizer, grass seed and mulch,
Oh,
is
no.
that?
Here we.
It's not really fertilizer because we don't really use much fertilizer, but it's the grass seed and the mulch and the flower beds and all that kind of stuff that you see in front of all of our buildings and all that stuff.
And that is not done by the township? We
It
just,
is. It is. That's the supplies.
He's the parks.
That's for the supplies. The actual bag of stuff. And-
great, but we had a contract last night for a landscaper. The landscaper doesn't do this?
No.
That supplement work.
This is the Parks Department does our facilities. The contract last night were for other public areas that are owned by the town. Mr. Latour was here last night, oversees not only cutting some of the taking care of the parks, but these are also other areas of the town that we just don't have the staff for. It's a supplement. So that vendor last night was a supplement. But we still have our own people who do this work.
Excuse me.
And that's, you know, that's field prep too. So, you know, you have a softball field and it rains, you got to reline it. You know, the infield gets a mess, you got to put the quick dry on it and then you have to put clay on it before the season starts. It's a whole big thing. And it's like, you know, we're doing like 15 fields sometimes in this particular season. So we need to have the supplies on hand. It's not like you can run out and buy this stuff, you know, as needed. You have to have a supply of it.
I like the idea of asking the director to make his own cuts because you know best. But I would like to look at the celebration of public events.
Well, not right now. We still have to
Oh,
finish this page.
Okay,
I mean,
If you're finished with that page, Councilman Rudin, then
yes.
Councilman Geber Michael's next.
So there are a few line items here where there was a certain amount budgeted last year that either the whole amount wasn't spent or very little was spent, and you're requesting the same and or more.
Okay,
Can we remove some of those?
could you be specific and maybe I have an explanation for them?
Sure. 071, new signs, park regulations, 1,300 budgeted, nothing spent last year. Maintenance building, 4,200 budgeted, nothing spent last year.
I want to give line items. That was 072.
And
I'm sorry,
zero-
not series 11-2s.
both-
beg your
I-
pardon.
They did both,
Okay.
7-1 and 7-2.
Pardon.
There's several like that.
I see them.
Yeah. So, I mean, can we make cuts there?
What I want you to think of for a minute here is that this is a little bit antiquated. There's a lot of things in here that are all being mulligan stewed, so to speak. So the money is being spent. Some of these lines are dead and we don't really use them anymore. And, you know, in my conversation with Mr. Detiniak, that's one of our objectives moving forward, is that we're going to start, you know, putting these things into a 2025 framework, because this is the same framework that has been here for 32 years with me, and it's never right, because there's just things that we just don't do anymore. So these are budget lines that all fund all of these things together. And maybe we don't buy a sign, but maybe we buy more grass seed. Maybe we don't buy lumber, but we buy more garden materials, you know. It's a little confusing, because if you look at some of the other items, like look at maintenance fence, 073, budgeted 500, and we spent 2,080. So it's the yin and yang of this thing.
But
Yeah.
it makes it difficult for us, because when we view these line items, like I came in prepared to be like, all right, on this page, I can remove about $20,000 worth, right?
Right.
So
Right.
it's just, so how should we do it? Like, for an example, line item 120, materials clay. 31,000 was budgeted and 19,000 was spent. Can we reduce 10,000 from this for this year?
Well, it's probably just being spent somewhere else, or was taken out of somewhere else. If you go down to 135 maintenance scoreboard, it's $340 budgeted, and we spent 3,800 on it.
I understand.
So, you know, you break a scoreboard, you're not gonna worry about whether you're taking grass seed mulch money, lumber money, or anything else. You're getting the scoreboard fixed.
But there's an.
Hold on. Let him finish.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead, Ms. Skio.
I'm just trying to make sense of this antiquated system to you. That it's a mulligan stew. You got to look at the whole thing. How much money do we have to accomplish everything that we need to accomplish? And go from there. And I think that, you know, if I'm gonna cut 10%, I will certainly look at this page.
Can you cut more than 10%? Can you cut
No,
maybe
I don't see that.
15,
I
20%?
don't think so. I do not. I would love to help you out. I'd love to help you out. But I mean, you know, we're pretty small potatoes here, and we're pretty efficient.
So I'd like to ask Mr. Detiniak, if we get all the budgets to reduce, all the departments, excuse me, to reduce 10%, where will that bring us in terms of our tax? It's not going to be enough.
No, I mean, your heavy hitters are your police and fire and debt and pension and health. This is the small potatoes. One tax point is $998,000. So to reduce your taxes, one tax point, you have to cut $998,000. What does that mean? What does a tax point do on the average home?
Repeat that number again?
$998,968, because we have an NVT now after the revaluation of $9,989,000 and $687 million. But so to reduce the taxes by 1 point, you have to either raise revenue $1 million or reduce expenses.
So to go from 6% to 3%, how much do we need to reduce from the budget?
I don't have the calculation in front of me, but let's see. I don't know. I'll work it out rather than me looking at the numbers and trying to guess it, but
Councilman Gilberto, you'll have the floor.
but yeah, the one tax point is $1 million, literally $1
$1
million,
million, okay.
yeah.
And
So
we're
it's
willing to
not
do
like
our part. you know.
Well, the reval killed us.
Yes, the rebound. All right.
When you say all right, are you finished, Councilwoman?
I am. Thank you so
Okay.
much.
Councilwoman,
So let me try to simplify this further. So 1 million off the budget is how much per household per year?
So like one penny is $61 on the average home.
Yeah, you're gonna have to do the math for me.
Yeah, so if you cut $1 million, you cut $61
$61.
the average home
A year from.
for the year. Yeah. Mhm.
For the year.
Mhm.
Okay. So I hear where we always talk about percentages because that's what's in the headline, so to speak.
So for
We
every
really- we
million,
Really got to look like our increase to the taxpayer per household, like the actual dollars and cents, because, we beat the directors up every year. We've got to try to get it down, but the moral of the story is, we gave 3% contracts out last year to all our employees. And, that was after a year that was, they were behind a year, right? So we
right. They went
catch up.
they
last
went an
year.
entire year without an increase. Mhm.
And so it's going to be impossible to get that down to 3% because a lot of that is contractual, which the two people didn't vote for that, but we voted for that. So that's that. So I think we need to focus on, if you get it down $61, you need $1 million, right?
Right,
Yeah, there you go.
right.
$1 million just to get it down $61. So you have to look at it that way. Do we know what the school increase is? per
School
household?
increases per household is $275.
And what is the county's increase? per
County
household?
increase is, and we just got the numbers from the county in total, with open space is $55.60.
55. We need that revenue from the county that they generate. And then we're at right now with this budget we have, what are we per household?
So with the changes, we're at $270.
$270 per household
Mhm.
yearly. That's per year
On the average home.
on the average home, $270.
So if your home is worth more than the average home, which is now, $615,472, it's higher. If it's lower, the increase is less, because this is the impact of the revaluation.
So right now, our end is $270 a year. Okay, so we need to go off that and keep that in mind. We always get tripped up with the percentage. And we need to follow that.
So I mean, if you wanted like a 0% tax increase, you're looking at $4+ million, which not realistic,
But
but
we
I'm
have
selling like-
contracts to pay.
Right.
So that's not happening.
right.
Not just contracts, we have government to operate and
Yeah.
functions.
Yeah.
Well, we
mean,
know
that's-
how
that's-
much can you stomach? Can you stomach cutting all the rec programs out and make them go down higher?
Right.
And have all the parents call you,
That's what drives our budget is the salaries and wages.
seniors?
It's the debt, it's
It's
the
our
pension, it's the
services.
health.
Okay. Thank you.
so I am just giving a note that it's 5 minutes before 9 o'clock, which is our proposed end time. So it might be that this is a good time to take a break and look at what may happen next, because it sounds like, Mr. Keough, that you get your wish and you come back here.
Oh, no, come on.
Yes, I
Come
know
on,
how
no.
much you enjoy this.
No. I want to raise if I have to come back here.
Well,
Thought we only have one page left to do. Public events. Right?
Well, yes, I do have a question on the previous page, the one that we were on now. It's line item 208. It has the word programs.
Yes.
What exactly is that? Because we spent,
Programs is our safety net line. It allows us to be creative. It allows us to fund something that may be underfunded otherwise. It's kind of a catch-all. Part of that money that is in that line right now was money that was appropriated last year to help offset the senior golf program that
Oh,
was
that's right.
experiencing an dramatic increase in fees and very much in danger of falling into extinction or driving a lot of our participants out of the program due to rising costs. So that's where that extra money came from.
okay. So not to be negative at all, but it's essentially your slush fund. It's the fund that you go to when you need
Yeah.
money. Yes.
Well, it allows us to be creative too. I have a special events coordinator. They come up, we just had a mommy and me tea. It was outstanding. We had, 40 people, moms and their daughters and sons and stuff all dressed up. They had a nice tea party up at Cat Civic Center. It cost us, $1,200 or whatever. We collected a good bit of that, but not all of it. And you don't want to stifle creativity, it's just like, just like teachers need creativity, we need to have it too.
Okay. There's also another line item, 120 materials, clay, I guess it's calcium. Last year, it was a little over $19,000 in expenditure, and the proposed budget for this year is a little over $31,000.
Um,
Okay. And did he answer the question?
He did.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. And what was the answer? I'm sorry.
That's for our 15 fields that we.
No,
do.
I understand that, but
Yeah.
I guess the question is, we haven't changed the number of fields. I don't think
Right.
we've necessarily changed the number of programs that are playing on
Right.
the field. So why the big
It-
delta on these two numbers?
Oftentimes that number fluctuates based on the severity of the winter. What exactly do we have to do when the winter passes and everybody wants all their 15 fields up and running? What do we hit with this particular year? If we have a mild winter, we're not in such bad shape. We get a bad winter. Now we're looking at more, we need more materials and all the way through. Yeah, it has a lot to do with the rain too. How often does it rain?
Okay. 090 officials.
Oh,
I'm not sure we asked that before, but I remember you answering that depending on the organizations that the officials work for, that determines what the compensation is. Is that
Yes.
what this number
exactly
represents?
what it is.
Okay.
And they like to get, every couple of years, they like to get $65 to work a game rather than 55. And, they pass it all on to the recreation departments, and they do the same thing to the schools, the athletic directors at the schools.
So I just want to just make a comment about the advertising line item 031.
Mhm.
If you are planning to send this publication to every household in the town, that is gold to certain advertisers. And
Mhm.
if your project is $13,000, you should be able, if you go to people in this town who want to reach every household, I'm sure you can appreciate, you used to be able to reach every household with newspapers and flyers. You don't do that anymore. Hardly anybody actually reads the newspaper, the print version. But I would be surprised if you couldn't find a professional or two who would welcome the opportunity to sell space in this thing.
Just wrote it down.
Okay, just something to think about, please. Oh, you did?
We talked
I have
about
a
that before,
suggestion.
I apologize to everybody that I keep missing this stuff. I'm trying to run the meeting as efficiently as possible, and I am missing stuff. So I just was taking one opportunity here, so I won't take up any more time, but it is 9 o'clock now. I think we should start talking about,
Councilman Scarpa?
Oh, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
I
Councilwoman
have a
Scarpa.
Yeah, I have a quick suggestion. You know, we have that West Orange magazine, that big glossy things that comes to everybody's house. Can we do maybe some advertising in there?
She's a private vendor. Yeah, her advertising's expensive.
I
Yeah.
just want something to look at.
Yeah, if you're gonna deliver to every household in West Orange, and particularly about activities for children and some activities for adults, I really do think that would be potential gold. That,
Yeah, she might welcome that.
so you can mail this and the mailing costs? or
That's,
production costs
that's,
are-
that's the printing and the postage. That's the big nut.
Mail's expensive.
Oh, it is, but that's what I'm saying. This is not expensive. If you're figuring how many pages are in this?
It's a single page, like a postcard.
Oh, it's a single page. Okay, I thought it was an actual booklet. Okay.
Would you have OSPAC on one side or the OSPAC schedule?
Spec stuff is on there.
Yeah,
You can do that on
That's-
one page,
that's-
front and back,
We
8.5 by 11?
Double sided.
and 2 summers ago, we had really good attendance at
Holy
OSPAC.
cow.
Yeah.
What about people that have to wear glasses to read?
Then we'll make it 6 by 8 instead.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sure everybody wants to go home. The next workshop we had has to be postponed. And I think Mr. Tiniak has to go to a beauty pageant. So we don't know when we're gonna meet next time, but when we meet next time, could we
So,
put?
Council President, if I may,
Yeah, Mr.
so we did discuss, first of all, we
It's 9 o'clock. I don't know. Just-
He sat here
Yeah.
all night. I mean,
We should have only done 3 to begin with. I don't know. Four.
we're never gonna get done. We can't do Mr. Reynolds. He's right here.
We didn't even finish parks yet. We still have pages. I jumped to public works and we didn't finish parks.
So Councilwoman, originally when you guys scheduled the 3 meetings, we tried to fit this in. Hopefully we could get it. I spoke to the council president the other day. I honestly think in my experience that we're gonna need 5 meetings. That's just my opinion.
5,
Um,
10.
Well, I'm being cautiously optimistic. So, so what I would suggest is that I'm trying to work out for the 29th next Thursday, which I should have an answer for you for that tomorrow. So we should pencil that day in. I'm looking at the calendar here. June 11th is another day, and I'm only asking that because if I can get these days to you, I can preset it with the IT people. June 11th is, there's nothing on the calendar as I could tell as far as planning board, zoning board or any other board that would interfere with. It's the middle of the week. It's another Wednesday,
Day after election day.
day after election day.
Office is gonna be exhausted.
Because of
Listen here, Buttercup.
I say just make sure the planning board
I'm
doesn't
just
do
throwing out
anything.
some dates, that's all, because on the 12th, we have a rent leveling board, and the 10th, we have this primary. I mean, we go the following week too, but I'm trying to push this closer than to go further.
Well, how
Okay,
about a
Councilwoman
Sunday?
Rudin has the floor,
Uh,
and then I'll get you.
Is there a Sunday that we can do?
There's gonna be no Sundays to do. Our
No,
staff is not
um,
coming in on Sunday.
Yeah,
It's
and I'm
just,
not doing a Sunday.
Just,
It's ridiculous.
our staff is here all the time, and, that's a day of rest for most of the staff. And you got a lot of holidays coming up in Father's Day, Mother's Day. Well, Mother's Day passed, I'm sorry. I apologize. My wife's gonna kill me. What's that?
Yeah, you're gonna have 10,
Yeah.
it's June 7th is Town Street Fair that
The
the
7th, yeah, that
staff's
was.
gonna be at.
Okay, Councilwoman Rudin has the floor. Do you still need it?
So I'm just
I'm sorry,
throwing.
Councilwoman Rudin, do you need the floor, or can we give it to someone else?
You can give it to,
Okay.
I just would
Mr.
love.
Keo, you would,
I just want to say, I could save you a little bit of time. You got the celebration of public events. I'm cutting 10%. I will certainly take a close look at this page. And some of the cuts will come from this page. So rather than come back again and go hash through the whole thing, either you trust me to do it or you don't. I mean, I'll do it.
okay,
And-
but
Yes.
seriously and sincerely, we do need you to come back to discuss this, I think.
There's only a couple pages left. Can we just finish off with parks and then go home? I'm okay with staying another.
Yes, we can't finish it off because he's got to get 10%. And
But we're
then-
not voting on
Yes.
it. Why can't he email us his changes?
Well, we have like, what, 40, 50 line items? How are we going to apportion
Can I
that?
make a statement? Or I didn't get a chance to talk. I'm.
Okay, Councilwoman Castellino.
Okay, so I know I sound frustrated because let him make his cuts, email us. If you have a couple questions, ask the questions. We need to get this done. I don't mind staying for Mr. I know he's leaving, but I mean, he's here. He
Good night,
sat here
Mr.
all
Reynolds.
night. I don't know why he can't do a quick overview and even if it takes us an hour, but now he's, we got to get this done. I just don't understand why this is taking so long. I mean, if you want to give the initiative of who could give 10%, or they're coming here with their bottom line, like they have to come with their bottom lines. I mean, that has to be it. Otherwise, we're never gonna get this done. Like we're nickel and dime in here and there. And I know you want to cut the 1 point, but at the end of the day, maybe make the recommendation, send it to them. So when they're here, they could either tell you they're gonna cut it or not. To do it this way is just really taking forever. And we can't hire staff or move forward without a 2025 budget. We can't keep practicing. It's bad enough we have another third quarter estimated tax bill again this year, this third year in a row. So that's it. I said my piece. We used to sit here all day on a Saturday and get it done. I don't know why we can't move towards
The
that.
administration doesn't
Thank
want
you,
to be.
Councilwoman. Councilman Rude.
I could be wrong, but to my recollection, we did not have 4th of July last year.
Oh, we certainly did. We just didn't have fireworks.
Oh. And how much did it cost with fireworks?
We didn't have fireworks.
I know, but when you did have fireworks, what did that cost?
It was about the same, about 35 or whatever.
So
35.
fireworks are really expensive.
Very expensive.
So shouldn't there have been a savings since there's no
We
fireworks?
we tried to replace it with something that was significant and meaningful to the community. And we did. We had a food truck festival. We had 2 very good musical acts, and we had a whole 6-hour celebration up at the library that was very, very well attended. When this came up last year about the fireworks, the first thing that I said to everybody was, don't think just because we're not having fireworks that you're going to save money. We're getting out of the fireworks dilemma. That's all you're doing, because it's the 4th of July. It's one of the major events in our community, in this country. And we as a community have to do something significant that day, something that people are going to look forward to. And we did that.
And next year's 250 years should be something special.
So I guess we need to take a vote as a council to decide what we're going to do for the next 5 or 10 minutes. Because it seems like we're all over the map. People want to keep talking, keep going. Other people want to set up for future meetings. Somebody wants to come in on Sunday, and I can't control this. All right. So you guys talk it out and decide what you want to do, and we'll take a vote. But this is not the way to run a budget process. I went through 10 of them. This is not the way to run a budget process. You guys decide what you want to do.
I make a motion to finish this section with Mr. Keough now.
I second that motion. All in favor?
Well, we need further, does anybody want to further discuss this?
Are we still then asking him to come back with 10%?
It makes sense for him to come back. I think we should discuss this and let him send the proposed cuts,
Yeah,
because we're not gonna vote on it anyway until the end, until we go through everything.
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
fine. So let's go through this whole list, this on line by line, and then you don't have to come back. You'll just send us all your changes.
Got a deal.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's go.
So everyone's in favor of that?
I'm not in favor of that.
So
So-
3 to 1.
Councilwoman
vote.
Scarpa.
I'm not in favor of that either. I'd like to see Mr. Keough clean up all the mishmash a little bit. I mean, this is what we went through for years with Mr. Gross, and we said we weren't gonna have budgets like this, that we were gonna have all of the line items realistically represent the costs.
We're still discussing, so.
So Councilwoman Scarpa, you are absolutely correct, but you might have missed it, but Mr. Datiniak was saying that he's stuck with the same old system that our previous CFO
Yeah.
used. So next year, it'll be a different version or a different software system where it will be more accurate.
So this is the last year of, and to be honest, this is not even the old Munidex system. This is the new version of Cloud Munidex, which the budget prep does not work. So I had to create all of these manual Excels and put this information in.
Wow.
Next year, when we have Edmonds, it will update every time I run a new budget report. They'll be able to make their requests electronically. The account structure will make more sense. We will dramatically cut down on the line items. I mean, if Mr. Kehoe wants a line item that said fishing derby, we could have that. But we're going to get away from all of these very specific sub-accounts. So it'll be a lot easier for everyone to sort of digest and compare, you know. We'll be able to run a report that says, hey, professional services across all departments, what are you spending? What are you budgeting? You know, we can do that. We can run project reports of, hey, 4th of July, what did it cost? Well, there was police presence involved in that, so we needed to pay, you know, $10,000 in OT, and then there, you know, we can do things like that. I am very limited in what I can do with this old version or new version of
Right, but Mr.
Munidex.
Keough must know what, I mean, just the fat and the slush fund
Councilwoman
accounts.
Scarpa, Mr. Datiniak has the floor.
Oh,
Please
I'm
raise your
sorry.
hand and I'll be informed by Mr. Fagan and I will call on you. Please stop interrupting. Mr. Datiniak.
I apologize, but as part of this process, and Mr. Kehoe, Director Kehoe did bring this up before. We are for this year going to try to clean up the existing accounts, you know, maybe changing names but I can't get rid of accounts because of the history that's tied to them. But we're going to do what we can to work with what we have and make it more realistic. So thank you.
Does anyone else want to discuss this before we take the vote? Madam Clerk?
To stay for,
Yes.
okay. Councilwoman Castellino,
Yes, let's do it quick.
Councilwoman Geber Michael,
Yes.
Councilwoman Rudin,
Yes.
Councilwoman Scarpa,
Yes.
Council President Krokoviac.
No.
The motion carries.
So, Mr.
Quickly.
Kehoe, I guess, are there any pending questions or are there other people who want to speak? Ask questions, or do you want to just go through and tell us what your 10% are? I don't know where we're going from here.
I thought we were looking at the page that said celebration of public events.
Okay?
Okay.
Let's do that.
Because Councilor Rhoden had some questions.
I'm ready.
So I just want to go through each one. For the tree lighting, last year you spent 1,900. This year you're asking for 11.
The tree lighting is the last event of the year. So again, you got to go back to that Mulligan stew concept. So when the budget opens up and it's a partial budget and we can only use certain amounts of each budget line, that's when we start begging, borrowing and stealing from one thing to another. So that's why the tree lighting being a December event, the money was probably, pirated from some of these other special events. And then when the budget became full later in the year, the bowls kind of all got filled back up again, and that's the way it landed.
So you didn't actually pay 19?
No, not
Okay.
even
So,
close.
I mean, I saw a lot of charges in there, including paying a resident $500 to sit, to sit.
Entertainment, yes.
Is there a way that some of this that you can look for, since we have such talent in West Orange, that we can get that for free?
We usually do. To tell you the truth, we usually do. A lot of times we'll have the high school ensemble, or we've had Seton Hall Prep, we've had the Vienna School of Music. We do that. It rotates from year to year. That particular year, we had I was approached about having the two ladies perform, and I agreed to it.
Okay.
But coming this year, probably will not be that scenario.
All right. And also like hot chocolate for $500.
It wasn't just hot chocolate.
I know it was really good hot chocolate,
She did
but
other stuff.
I know she was great.
And it was cider and it was,
Yeah.
and there was so many people that, I mean,
She said
it
a lot.
ripped right through her supply.
Right.
And plus they came, they brought their own tent. They said they did.
They
nice
did a
setup.
great job,
They
but I'm
did.
just saying that we need to find ways to cut in
Yeah.
that. I'm not sure why it costs that much to light the tree and to have,
It's
know.
fun. There's a lot of things that go with it.
I'm sure it's fun, but I'm just,
A lot of it is decorations.
but isn't it the same decorations that we pull out year after
You
year?
still got to, you still got to bring them down and put them back up and things get broken in the process. And every year you can figure that, you're going to have to spend some money on replacement and installation.
Okay. Anybody else have
No.
questions on any other item?
They don't-
Can I
it's
just
not
make it?
accurate. These one,
Yeah.
these numbers aren't accurate.
Yeah, you do, look at the bottom. That's the proof of the pudding. It was budgeted at 72 and we spent 67. So,
We left some money in, but that money went to other line items in the previous pages.
no, we don't usually do that. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We're there anyway, so. I mean, that's one of the first things I'm gonna look at, when we start talking about the 10%.
Okay.
What is the summer series?
Those are the two concerts at OSPAC in the summer that are directly run by my department.
And what does that cover?
Oh, it's sound techs, the musicians, the event staff, we kind of run the whole show up there on those particular 2 days. And they build it right into their regular schedule, between plays and different things that they do.
Is that already scheduled for this year?
Oh, yeah, everything's scheduled.
What are we doing on Halloween?
Halloween morphs every year. Sometimes we do haunted rides through the woods. Sometimes we just do like a Halloween fair. Sometimes on the pool grounds. We move around a little bit on that. Sometimes it's simple. We've been at Liberty Middle School. We did the haunted school. We change that up. It rotates.
Well, good luck cutting.
It's hard. 'cause-
Everybody, but really, Mr. Detiniak, it would be helpful for us if each of
Yeah.
the department heads got that request before they came before us, because they know best what's expendable.
Mhm.
Especially because the numbers aren't accurate.
We've been,
Again, yeah.
we've been around. We were prepared for this. We know,
Yeah.
we're no surprise.
Don't get hung up on the sub accounts. If you look at the bottom line, he spent 92% of his budget. And his overall budget is an increase of 2%. Not even $2,000. So yes, we have this sub account detail, which we allow the departments to overexpend the sub account. They cannot overexpend the controls. He can't go over to 72,000. But if he wanted to charge $70,000 to Veterans Day, he can do that through the requisition system. So the detail is there and it's nice, but if you just look at the overall total, he's spending 92% of his budget. And he's only asking for a 2% increase, which is not even $2,000. So I know you want to look at Veterans Day, you spent $48, can we cut it? But it's like, let's look at overall. What did you spend for celebration of public events? Because when you look at a legal budget document, it's not going to list all these accounts. It's just going to say celebration of public events, budgeted $72,000, paid or charged $67,000. That's how we look at it from a legal budget perspective.
And my staff is always on me about this, they'll tell me like halfway through the year, hey, this is how much we have left in public events here. Don't be adding stuff, you're not gonna have enough later on. So we're aware of this and we monitor this as the year goes along to make sure that we don't go over here.
I just want to make one last comment. Thanks. And to their credit and the job that they do, our residents, if you attend a lot of our town-wide events, you will see how much our residents enjoy the events. And years ago, you get more criticized of certain events and now people are just so excited and happy. You guys have been really doing a really nice job. And he's been working with less full-timers in the office, because when I saw the list in the beginning, some people that I've known that have retired, he never replaced. So that says a lot for them doing more with less.
Well, the two full-time people that do all this programming and everything is this guy right here, Edwin, and Juan Pintado, who does a fantastic job. And as far as keeping us all online, Joanne Napolitano does a beautiful job watching all of our lines and all of our accounts and everything. So we got a nice team and we're going to do the right thing. You ask us to do something, we're going to do it and we'll do it right.
Thank you, Director.
Okay.
See you next week.
We dismissed, Council President?
Beg your pardon?
Are we dismissed?
I don't know. Does everybody want to dismiss?
Yeah.
You are dismissed. Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Chair.
you. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Council
Mr. Johnson.
President.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Tiniak. Thank you, Mr. Smurl.
Okay, so at least we got the right time.
I
Well,
make
we
a
have to make a
motion to
date. Do
adjourn.
we have the next dates or?
a second?
Second. Adjourn. or we-
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Johnson. The workshop
Done.
is adjourned.
Michelle, I
Thank
get-
you, committee, for hanging in there.
Thanks, everyone. Michelle, I get that you're.
West Orange, we're signing off the air.
Fault. We just got it. We're having